Dun dun dun, we are live.
Yes.
So guys, we're joined with Chubby Funster. We're doing a kind of a weird thing. This is my second time doing this, dual streaming. So how you doing, man?
Yes, I think it's good. It brings a lot of this, people that might not know about the other channel together.
He's being nice to me. Mr. Chad McChatson with his like nearly 8,000 subscribers over here.
I've been on streams with like Eric Tinkar where he's bringing in like twice as many people as me. So.
That's fair. He's a big ass channel, dude. I'm like, whoa, dude. I don't. Yeah.
Well, if you retire and you do this every day, all day, that you can.
That's fair. You put the work in, you know. That's why I just started doing random live streams lately, just like hobby, chill, hangouts, a few interviews, starting to do more of that sort of stuff, and just put things out. And I think it helps. Plus, it's just different. You know, you might have a little interaction with chat as well, and a little.
Yeah, we see Atmos in the chat. I got to meet him at North Texas.
Yeah, I know. He's a good friend of mine. So we be playing games and stuff every now and then. And I believe your young fella was teasing him for looking so young and handsome.
He was definitely the youngest looking guy in most of our groups. Yes.
Yeah. Muzz. He's always around. He's one of the OG Chads. How you doing? Morning. Yeah, he's in Australia. Morning. And Atmos, again, being an absolute super Chad from the get-go. And I don't know who you were. Oh my god. Thank you, dude. Wow. That's exceptionally generous. But so we're gonna do a little bit of a different kind of stream, I guess. We're gonna kind of do what you do in your videos, which are very good. It's gonna be something kind of like that. A little bit of a back and forth, maybe bring some things up from different game systems or settings from books.
Well,
how different creators do things.
I reached out to you because you're one of the few people that I could have this talk with because you've gone so deep on Gods of Forbidden North. Like usually you're in a conversation and like one person is like at master expert tier knowledge of whatever you're talking about. And the other person is like way down and they don't know shit about it. And so it's like we're both very high level of understanding.
I am not to toot our own horns. I probably have to agree with that.
I was watching your solo plays back. It made my son laugh so much because he doesn't get a lot of international accents, let's say it that way, in his daily life, right? Okay. And so he's listening to you. And I think the thing at the very beginning in the intro adventure, you get attacked by thieves in the alleyway.
Yeah.
And he thought it was hilarious that in Irish accents, it's thieves. And he's like, these thieves are attacking us. And he thought it was hilarious. Like, it was also like, and I was like, this is back when we were.
This is the real world, son. Uh-oh. You're breaking up a bit there. Uh-oh, guys. We might have lost Chubby there. Let's see if we can get it going back on now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Did I fade out or was it you? I don't know.
Dude, yeah, you basically just died. I think I can hear you now.
Awesome.
It happens.
But yeah, it was the thieves of the Forbidden North. Yes.
Yeah.
He really enjoyed it.
Over there near the threes. There's 3 thieves over there near the threes.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't do the T's very well, you know. It's genetic. We also have another genetic anomaly where we have to curse. I took medication, so I won't be doing that so much today.
I work with an Irish guy. I talk to him almost every day. So it's
nice.
To me it's effortless, right? Like maybe if you were a Kiwi, it would be hard for me to pick up the accent. But like other than that, any Commonwealth country, I'm good for.
Well, we don't talk about the Commonwealth now. Just saying, there's a few little bomby bombs went off here and there.
I know you're technically not part of the Commonwealth, but you're
I'm going to tease. I don't get offended and cry about stuff like that. You know, you can't expect everyone to know everything about everywhere at all times. Like, what the hell? Some people are, you know.
But anyway, that was my point. Like, we both have this enormous amount of knowledge about how this book is a series of books now. We're up to volume 3. Is organized. So it's hard to have these conversations with people because, like, some of the other games we're going to be talking about tonight, Dolmen Wood, for instance, requires a huge amount of reading in order to really even understand the scope. And so having common ground with Gods of Forbidden North is going to be really useful to us.
Yeah, I think for the Gods one, I'll obviously have quite a good, decent amount of knowledge on. For Moria as well, I love for Moria. It's one of my favorite Shadowdark settings.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I'm sure another settings book that's coming out soon will also be a part of that. And then to nudge, nudge. I wonder what that could be.
Oh, yes. Could it be ShadowSun?
Dun, dun, dun. ShadowSun. Which, you know,
delicious.
You've had a first edition. This is going to be a second edition, completely revised.
That's right. This is a revised edition.
Expanding.
The first one, I didn't have the resources to do a lot of the art that I would have liked to have done. And one of the things that happens when you're an independent producer is if you can't afford the graphics to go with whatever it is, then you have to adjust what you do have to fit your graphical ability. So, you know, you need to have a certain amount of art in your monster section. And so you have to make hard choices about, okay, I can't have 8 pages where there's no art. So I need to have an art piece that fits the monsters in here and do this. And there's all kinds of choices you make. And then I also have learned a ton in the past 3 years, not just about Shadowdark. I wrote ShadowSun when Shadowdark was still in the quick start phase, but about like just game design in general and running a bunch of stuff. Like, the more you work in this, the more you produce, the more you learn about producing. So it's just kind of, you could sit back and be like, I've written 0 books and I know everything, and we'll be like, okay, whatever. But once you start writing, writing and doing a bunch of stuff, you have to really learn and grapple with these things.
Yeah,
because you're literally doing it. Yeah,
I will in no way, shape, or form claim to be an expert. What I always say is I'm a dumbass. Everyone's a dumbass, but I'm honest about it. Like, you can always learn more. Like, I know a good few creators, and some of them I'm really good friends with. I talk very often with, like Matt, and he bounces things off me and a few other lads, and we talk about things and go over things. We test things out, and it's an ungodly amount of work to do sometimes the most basic thing. People don't understand. People think, oh yeah, I have this cool idea. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to play with it. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. Or they're like, oh, I'm going to find this idea from this book or series or game, whatever, combine it with my own thing, and it's going to work. And then you use it, and it's like, well, this is crap.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's why it's important to test it when you can, as much as often.
And there's a certain degree of, like, you've run something or you've done something enough times that you can go, okay, I think it will work if I set the numbers like this or whatever. But
yeah,
there's other things where you're like, we'll have to see how it works. I mean, because there's some things that are just too complex for you to predict how it's going to all work in the end.
Some of the things I think are probably easier to have done would be, funny enough, a lot of monsters, as long as you don't have them with like 40 abilities, of course, creature stats, because you're basically just dealing with hit points and percentages with that.
Let's say you wanted to come up with 20 new monsters for your supplement or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's existing stock art for those monsters, or you've got some really awesome public domain images that you're going to use, then you are going to just be describing them with words and no art.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you spend a significant amount of money putting all of that together, right? So the bigger your project becomes, the more you need to do that. And so at the beginning, Shadowdark really, Shadowdark really made kind of the Chubby Funster brand catapult up enormously. So I now have the ability to do all those things. I just didn't have them. So this ShadowSun revision is going to be awesome. It's going to look great. It's going to have all sorts of content that I wish I could have put in. It's going to have the benefit of me having played this and run this and written for the past 3 years since I did this and improve on that. So Kickstarter's coming. It's probably, I had originally said it for early August, but I do think I need some more time on some elements. As you can see behind me, I've been moving. I'm in the room of lost boxes with no home yet. So like, there's just tons of stuff to do. Yes. Lots of boxes.
We're connected in more ways than ever now, my friend.
And it's just, you're like, oh man, so much. So I lost so much time. Like I had one of my YouTube videos recently where I was like, I drove 14 hours yesterday. You know, I had a lot of time to think about this YouTube video. You know, like there's like a lot of you know, moving 8 hours away from where you were before is like, it's close enough that you don't pay to put everything into a huge truck. Where if I was moving from Georgia to California, I would just be like, I have to pay for a big truck. But
an 18-wheeler, just put everything in it.
Yeah, I just took it all on my chin. You know, I did it myself. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad Watcher DM enjoyed those videos. I tried to space them out as I was running it so that people it would have the benefit of running it. And flip through reviews are great. They're really great at giving people a sense of what is actually the product feels like, what's in it. You can just like table of contents type stuff. Like there's monsters, there's magic spells, there's this kind of stuff. And you can see, get a rough idea, but until you actually play it, it's very hard to get a sense for how something works. One of the things that I had in my video that I just did to close out Volume 1 is that there aren't any magic armors in Volume 1. There's some in Volume 2, but you're running it like there's a big gap between 1st and 7th level of not getting magic armor. And so I wish I'd known at the beginning, like if I gave out a +1 chainmail back 6 months ago, how would that have affected combats over all this time? Those are things you're never going to think of when you flip through the book.
Yeah. That like you said about like flip through stuff. Anytime I've done any review, I always do my best to play it or play as much of it as possible. Anytime I don't or like do it like a flip through thing, I say at the very beginning, this is like an overview. I haven't like Volume 2. It's like I have like I've put down as overview review, so it's like based upon previous experience and going over the book for like 2 or 3 weeks, reading stuff. No worries.
Sorry, my son thought this was a good time to ask me for something.
Cool.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Life happens.
When you're 15, the world is your oyster, you know. Just do whatever you want.
Dude, where's my lollipop?
So like one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is like when you're designing a high level product like Gods of Forbidden North, like Dolmenwood, like Formoria, ShadowSun, what are the things that you put in that first book? How are you running the products, right? So just from a high level, we were talking about this a little bit before the show. Gods of Forbidden North is released as a 3-volume set. So there's parts in Volume 2, or parts in Volume 1, there's places where it says, if they go in this, that goes to Volume 2 or Volume 3. And you're like, okay, well, until I have that book for a while, it's being put. Well, now I have them all, so it's easier. But for a while, it was like, okay. Then you have. I was just looking at Arthur's go. So you have content that's split between those 3 things, and it's spread out over time. What is it? 3 or 4 years that it.
I think it's about 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So that's one way of delivering the product. The Dolmenwood experience, which I came into late, so if anybody can correct me on this, but my understanding is he started out with zines. He was releasing them as kind of short zines, and they added up, and then he said, okay, I need to put this all together into one kind of campaign set. And there's a player book and a campaign book and a monster book. Oh, can you hear me? My son must be sabotaging the Wi-Fi.
Oh. This might be me this time.
Oh.
Me this time. We're taking turns.
Oh, all right. Both sides of the Atlantic.
Sorry about that.
So when he did revise it into a setting, there's a campaign book for the GM. There's a monster book. There is a player book, right? And it had all the other. Starblazer is here. This is one of my trolls. I have no idea what this guy's deal is, but if anybody wants to make fun of him in the chat, that's totally fine with me.
Oh,
I just view it as entertainment. So you could offer it like that. You could set it up like that, and then he offered adventures after the fact, right? And so Gods of Forbidden North comes packed with all those adventures in Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, right? They're built in.
They're not short adventures. A lot of them are quite big and deep and detailed.
That's right. Yeah.
You get one, like you might have one or two, a handful which are like, oh, you basically enter one room, but the room has a lot of stuff in it, and a lot of stuff that's going to kill you, curses and stuff like that. So,
exactly. And then, like on the Overland map, he has tons and tons of actual fixed locations that are described, right? So there's two different ways. Then for Moria is another example I wanted to use because we're both very familiar with it. Is there's a world map, but it doesn't have like hex numbers, so it's not like things aren't keyed to hexes. It's kind of a more for general location of things hex map, and then he has the book that's mostly how to live in this world, character creation, that kind of stuff, spells and monsters and stuff, encounters, but it doesn't go down to like this is in this specific location. He's got some gazetteer. But then after publishing for Moria, he's now published adventures that go in for Moria, right? So I'm thinking for myself, like as from ShadowSun perspective, what should I do? Should I make one little region map and do something, or should I do a huge map that's not keyed and people can put things places and so on? And what I decided to do was, I mean, this is a very expensive way to go, but is to commission a huge map. So the map that I have for ShadowSun Revised is 8 times the size of Gods of Forbidden North. And it's not keyed the way his is, but there are random generation systems built in for you to key it, for you to do the dungeons. And then all the kind of stuff that's in for Moria, the character generation, spells, factions, all that kind of stuff. And then in the next few years, Rob took years to write the Volume 1, Volume 2. I'm going to take time to write regional books. I think you're frozen again.
Dude.
Hey, was that you or me? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This is weird. Anyway, I'm very sorry about that. It's one of us or both of us. I don't know. It might be.
I don't know. So like I'm doing a hybrid of all of those different ideas, right? So what I wanted to talk about, like from a consumer perspective, which of those experiences do you think resonates the best with you?
Now, this is an interesting question because I'll start with the Gods of Forbidden North just to grab that out. And the way Rob has it, I really do like it. Just when you open the book from the beginning, we have history, lore, lots of detail stuff, cultural stuff, and all in there. To me, I love that stuff straight away. A lot of people, I know there's a few people it's kind of 50-50. People want that stuff at the back, and they kind of they don't like it. I don't understand why. It's weird to me. To me, I want to know about the world. I want to know how the world functions. I want to understand why this group of people feels this way about this other group of people. You know, that's good. That's key for me to know how to play a game, how to run a game, and then I do. I see. The more I've gone over things, the more I like the way he's done it. But like with Femoria, I think it's great. There are a few locations in the core book which are keyed, like, you know, so some of the circle tower, not circle towers, the training area for like the knights and stuff like that. That's in there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So there's some stuff like that in there. Not a ton.
Well, I knew there was like gazetteer stuff, like this is the
There's lots of information about the world and how that works, and you know, basically getting the vibe, the feel. That's also very important, but that's sort of more like the mid end of the book as well. It kind of depends on what you're doing with your adventure or your setting. That as a consumer, I think it really does go by that. So let's say you are trying to create a big open world like yourself and Rob. You can then go about it like, okay, do I start off just creating a map from the beginning? Okay, cool. Well, what is in the map? What populates the place? The regions of the world is in a hot setting, a cold setting, like European, Mediterranean, sort of African, you know, all that stuff. That's going to influence how you're going to start. Obviously, like what kind of terrain is going to be within the map, how it's going to then be presented to the player or the GM as well, and relevant information about hexes or you know, different locations. It's kind of, I do find that the most difficult thing in the world is to imagine how to even start.
That's right. What I was about to say is, like, let's say that you made a Mediterranean map,
yeah,
and a Mediterranean civilization. It wouldn't make sense for those people to not know what the Germans were.
Yeah,
right? Like,
it wouldn't make sense for them to not know about North Africa.
That's right. So there's no Germans at all in this entire Mediterranean. Nobody's come down. They haven't done any trade. They haven't done anything. They have no idea there's even Germans existing. So like, if you make your setting and you're like, there's these 5 groups that live here, like what's right over that mountain? Why doesn't anyone know what's right over that mountain? That's where you start to get into the
you need to have some logical differences in your game or your setting, your adventure. It doesn't matter. Even with like it's running an adventure, just say, you know, a 20-30 page adventure. You could say the players don't know that much. Maybe they're foreigners in this land, whatever. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But say if you have a thing like Femoria, you are in the main continent of this world. So, you know, okay, you should probably know as a player the orcs. The orcs, they're not called orcs in Femoria, but like they're equivalent.
I think what are called orcs.
Are they? I think they're called. I think they function as orc, but they're called something else. I think.
I will double check it while you finish that thought.
But let's say, for example, they take over different parts of the world over down sort of. Actually, they do take quite a bit of it, sort of like the east, southeast sort of area. You would know that because that was a massive part of the world history. You'd know what they look like. You know how they function, as pretty much anyone in the region.
Yeah, they're orcs. Yeah, they're called orcs. Yeah. And then there's Balespawn, and
that's I think that's probably what I'm thinking of. They're a different division of of them. I think that was it. But yeah, like you would know what all these different groups and peoples are because they've had a massive impact in the world. There's wars over everything. So again, it would be like the Brits would know what the Romans were, where they came from, and their culture and how they operate. These things are very important to make your adventure and world setting feel real. It's it's then you also have to take it into consideration when you talk like just the maps again is the type of terrain, is the sort of clothing your the people who inhabited the world doesn't make sense for the setting. Like you're not going to have a bunch of shirtless guys walking around Antarctica, or you're not going to have a bunch of uh, heavy wolves wearing Scotsmen in North Africa. You know what I mean?
One of the things that I ran into when they have to be able to avoid almost all of these frostbite effects that he built in systematically.
Yep.
So what are they doing? Is there like practices that they're doing? Is it clothing that they're doing or whatever? And my guys were they were dying from free, like they are having really hard time with hypothermia. And that's one of I'm about to have a Kickstarter for the revised edition of it.
Yep.
So it's like, how did my guys, I ended up telling them, like, they had a battle outside of Fort Eichenbar with, I think it was like 7 giant otters, that just random encounter. And it was 2d12 giant otters, I'm pretty sure. So like the fact that I got 7 saved their bacon. So they got attacked by these giant otters and they killed them, and they were like, we're skinning these guys and we're making clothes out of. So then I said, okay, because they did that, I'm going to give them basically a +2 bonus on all these checks, because they had just been getting slaughtered by the cold.
Yeah, that's one thing as well when you're talking about running stuff as a referee, a GM, whatever, you should adapt things to make sense that maybe that wasn't filled in to begin with. There could be like slight oversights, or like, remember how you said like the beginning how there was no real magic armor early on. That's stuff you probably need to put in yourself. And like you said, I think it's important when you get big books is to read through as much of it as possible, get a feel for everything. I've done this a few times. Like, okay, I'm gonna just read like the first little bit, and then like we're gonna play through it. Okay, cool, because you're not gonna get X amount of fire distance into it, and then over time you may read a little bit further in. You're like, I've been playing this for like 2 months, and we don't have this item or this sort of thing didn't show up. Then you're going to have to be like, okay, I'm going to use my own initiative and then throw some stuff out in there. Like when I was doing my solo play, for example, in the Gods of the North, the characters, I'm playing the characters. So how I sort of operate is, what would they know based upon their class and their like intelligence score or wisdom or whatever. Okay, so a cleric type character is going to know, obviously going to know more about the possibilities of the different religions and that sort of stuff in the region. Okay, cool. So when they're making in-game choices for locations to go to, when you have information in like 2 or 3 different areas, how do I decide that? Okay, I'm going to have to basically make a roll. I usually use like a D6 simple roll to figure out what it is, or 2D6. And okay, they end up going for one of the caves, which was cursed and had the zombies in it. The entropy zombies, and they absolutely freaking slaughtered my guys. And the problem with entropy zombies is, okay, cool. Yeah, they heal, and when they damage you, you cannot heal unless you have a high level cleric, or you kill the zombie that inflicted the damage on you.
That's right.
And then when they die, they will come back after a certain amount of time. And then I got to the point where my characters were dying, and then I was like, oh no. But then I remember, okay, we had a group of we met a group of guys earlier on, the soldiers from the Falcon Guard, and they were on patrol. Okay, cool. Maybe they're going to come back to their patrol. I have figured it out. I rolled dice. They were coming on their way back. I had one of my characters run away to try and meet them halfway, and that's what happened. They came in. A lot of them got killed. So what I had to do was basically in game fast forward several months, and I determined that like if I was doing this in a group, they'd be playing this whole thing out. But I'm doing like solo play stuff. It's Yeah, it'd take too much time. You'd be spending forever on doing the same shit. So basically, there's more crime in the world because the population of the guards in the land is now down, decreased massively. So it's like if you're in the bad part of town, your chance of getting robbed is significantly higher. The badness is now reached in the other parts of the town. There's more smuggling. There's more like drug stuff going on, and this is like probably as good as I could get to having a bunch of players who made a dumbass decision, and they're now to reap the consequences of it. So,
I haven't. They haven't figured it out yet. If there's anybody in my game that's listening, I think there will be some. But when they went, they're on like their third year in real time in the game. And they just came out of winter. They're in summer now. And when they came out of winter, they I had them run into all these dead soldiers on the road and evidence of undead that had attacked. And they didn't do anything about it. They went straight to Volga. They kept doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. Then eventually they make their way back over to Skullberg, which had been like a major base of operations for them. And it had been severely attacked by zombies. And so there was a huge pile of zombies that they had burned, and the skeletons were still there, and there was all this stuff. And they still, even after all that, they were like, well, that sucks. Let's just get our stuff together. And so they've just been going along. And when the next winter comes, it's going to be real spicy and fun. But they don't know that because they keep ignoring these signs. They're like, well, who cares? Right. So
it's like so obvious. It's like right in their faces, and you're like, right. Hey guys, come on, hint, take the big, push.
Everything I've already said, I'm sure they remember to some degree, but what they aren't remembering is that in their first summer in Forbidden North, they went over to the Barrow of Eight and let a whole bunch of guys out.
They've basically done the same thing. And
they ran away. So these high-level Draugr have been out in the world just doing shit. That's and hilarious. they're just like they're just going along. They have no idea that it's like there's things happening. So I think it's interesting when you have so many things in the way that Volume 1 is set up that it creates those outcomes. And those are specific outcomes that you're not going to get if you're randomly generating things.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I want to have the Kickstarter, the stuff that's in the Kickstarter that I'm about to do is the high level things that character generation, monsters, random encounters, the tools that are in the Shadowdark book for making random dungeons. I've expanded on that. There's 8 different types of dungeons instead of, I think there's only 3 in the original Shadowdark book. Then there's one of them is shafts. So it's like a mine shaft that goes vertically down, and you're rolling small extensions off the side rather than building out rooms in a full spread the way you would for a normal dungeon using the Shadowdark method. So there's different things like this. It's creating different things, and then there's going to be flying monsters that can move between these levels because it's an open shaft down in the center. So if there's like a pteranodon type creature, it's going to be able to fly right down and come down on your head if you're down deep in this place. So I'm building out stuff to make each hex randomly. But then over the next few years, I want to be releasing regional books that go into that same level as Gods of the Forbidden North. But if running it, I've often wanted, I wish there was a Hadean kind of racial group, and then a Inaruk racial group, and a Wujan racial group, so that someone making a new character can go, I'm going to be a Wujan, and then they roll that up, and then we would know some kind of difference rather than just using OSE of you're a human fighter. you're an elf, whatever. Yeah, because we're using not race as class. We're using a race and class
Mix,
as the optional rules. So we could do all that kind of stuff, but it's almost impossible for some small producer. Like if I was Wizards of the Coast, I could do it all in one lump. But writing it yourself, it takes time to put all this stuff together. Can you imagine the task of writing the detail level of Gods of the Forbidden North on 8 regions simultaneously? Like it would be insane.
That'd be horrible. That'd be horrible. Like
exactly.
Rob has been for example, Rob has been doing the Gods of the North for like last 4 or 5 years, working on it and revising it and updating and changing things. And like I think the first Kickstarter came out was that in 2022, I think it was, maybe. I think so.
I don't know.
I backed out the second.
Yeah, I didn't get into it in the first wave because
me either.
I don't know if I would call this conservatism or like stinginess or what. But for me, I've been burned by so many things, whether it's books, video games, movies, TV series, whatever, where I'm like, oh, there's this new thing, and then I go get into it, and then it's like, oh no, it sucks, right? So I don't want to pay $50 for a video game that sucks. So I will wait like a year and a half, and they'll be like, okay, I'm really sure that this is going to be good, right? So when the volume 1 came out, I had seen previews of it, I looked at stuff, and I was like, well, I'll wait. And then when I was at North Texas 2 years ago, I sat down and looked at the book in meat space. I realized this is good, and then I bought it. The Xander, there is a quick start. It's on the Kickstarter page. It's like the third section. There's a quick start that you can go get right now off a drive-through. It's 130 pages. Like it's huge. It's bigger than the Shadowdark quick start.
Yeah, and it's also linked in the description below, so you can just click it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Page.
Yeah. So I have everything there. If for some reason you're not following Chubby on his X account or anything like that, every single link he has, everything's there. So yeah, go click everything. I try to be prepared, boys.
Yeah. So it's really, to answer his question, it is what I wanted it to be to begin with, but I just couldn't make it. Good to see you, Todd. Also, it was great talking. We
were hanging out last night.
Yeah, he was at North Texas, and both years that I've been, and great guy, right? So when you look at the Kickstarter page, you can see I'm doing all sorts of stuff that's high level world building, and that's why these topics are so important to me. Is how do I shift now from that high level world building to the specific thing? Should it be adventures the way that For Moria does it? Should it be regional books like Gods of the Forbidden North? Should it be a mix of that, like using Zines or something, the way that Dolmenwood developed? I don't have the correct answer there. I don't know that there is a correct answer.
Yeah, so based upon what you're telling me, telling us all of us here, I would say have mini gazetteers for certain sections, but within that have maybe an adventure, so you get an idea of what the difference is in the regional land and how that's going to influence say a dungeon. So maybe in the far north or the far east of your world, how is the construction of temples different to the southwest? How that's going to influence, and then the cultures from there as well. How are they going to be different from the central region? And the different races.
That kind of stuff is in it. Let me screen share this for a second.
Yeah.
This is the first city state, which is out. There's 20 of them, and this is kind of the format that I'm going to be following for them, where it has kind of general ideas about the city state using a Shadowdark style, like basically easy to find what you're looking for style. And then these are city states. They're not just one place. So they control places in the hexes around the city state. This is just a black and white cut off the map.
Yeah.
Right. And so it gives you the coordinates for all of these villages and stuff that this is what this is in the player book. This is what the players know, what the characters know about the world. Okay. In the same way that I know that Dublin is in Ireland, but Ulster is a part of the UK, right? So these are the things that they know. And by putting this in the player book, it lets the players be the one that drive that discussion with the GM. I want to go to this place, right? They don't feel like they're just trapped in, I make fun of Curse of Strahd, like they're trapped in a place by mists. You can't leave. You only know this place. You don't know anything about the world. You're screwed. No, like these are real people that have been living in this world. Mm-hmm. They have this level of knowledge and they have this control over their life. They don't have to just go with the one thing that the GM tells them about.
I do like that you have it in the player book because, okay, say if I'm playing your game, I'm like, okay, we want to go over to the village of Kasawa. So we're traveling, we're doing hex crawl stuff, and on the way travel over, I take out the player book. Or that gets passed over, and then I'm like, okay, I know this basic thing. This village is known for creating X, Y, and Z. It's being inhabited by a bunch of cannibals. Oh, maybe we won't go there. Like that sort of stuff is really important because otherwise it's like, okay, hold on, I'm a GM now. Okay, you want to know? Okay, where is that again? It's on. Okay, give me 5 minutes.
Because you're exactly right. That what you just described,
your own game that you've made, you're not going to know. You can't remember every single thing in every hex location. You're like, yeah. If you do, I'm going to be worried. You might be a robot, bro. And
it's super. I have so many problems when people ask me like, how does this work? A friend of mine in the Saturday night game that I run, he is like the original Chubby Funster super fan back when I wrote Ambition and Avarice first edition.
Oh wow!
And he had to kind of drop out of the game temporarily because of some real life stuff. He's just been busy on Saturday night, but he's a coder and he's been playing around with code. He's like, look, I made this character sheet for Ambition and Avarice 2, and it does all these automatic calculations. It does all this stuff. I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome, dude. And he was like, here's like, these are the weapon proficiencies. I think, is this the correct list for weapon proficiencies? I'm like, I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't have the weapon proficiencies memorized. Are flails and maces two separate items, or are they in the same category? I can't possibly remember that. I wrote that game 7 years ago.
But you know what? That is also great as well. It's very flattering as well that someone's like, I love this thing that you created, and I want to try and create these like basically tables and data sheets to make things like quicker and easier to get out in front of you. Just put them right there or whatever. I'd say that must feel awesome, especially like I think when we first time I reached out to you, we were saying like, oh yeah, we're starting to get a little bit pick up and stuff. Some of my older stuff will start popping off a little bit, and each time you put a book out, your previous book does a bit better, and some of your previous stuff is a little bit better, and then I didn't even know about Ambition and Avarice until you sent it to me. And I thought it was okay. I looked at you sent me the PDF, and I was like, "This is awesome." And I thought it was so good. I bought the hard book. I was like, "Dude,
I appreciate it." Yeah. To me, like once it's past a certain number of years, it's like, when I look at it, I go, "Oh, I would change so much about this thing."
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, well, I would
respond to Arthur before we move on to Agile's super chat," but I felt that way about the Walking Dead RPG. Sorry. The Walking Dead RPG, I had such high hopes for. I love the Alien RPG. It's so good. And I'm like, this is the same people. It's like almost the same system. Like, this is going to be awesome. It was, excuse me, it was not awesome.
Let you recover there. Yeah, I'll say thank you again, Agile. You were an absolute super Chad. Guys, if you have any questions later on, we'll try and answer a few of them. As we're going along here, I'm just going to basically just click on the chat and let you guys read them off, because we're probably going to do a good bit of back and forth, and otherwise we could just spend the whole screen just reading off chats. Yeah. Just to let you know.
Oh, sorry. But like the reason why it didn't work is not something I could have known ahead of time. The problem that I have with The Walking Dead is it's very similar to the problem I have with a lot of story games, actually, is that the mechanics are designed so that you never get total resolution of a thing. Mm-hmm. And that kind of makes sense in a world of an endless amount of zombies. But like, if I really want to clear this particular building of zombies 100%, the mechanics don't really support. Like I can roll to hold off the zombies for a while. I can roll to interact with them, but like, you can't be like, I systematically clear every zombie from this radius or whatever, and then I set up these things. So like, it's very much designed for you to never have control over yourself, to never be able to push back. And it reinforced all the things that I hate about the show.
It's kind of like the opposite of like the ACKS system in place, where you're like, okay, you have this large area of space, okay, this type of creature is maybe going to have between like this hex is going to have maybe 20 different encounters with something until you can clear it, so you can then like build your town or your fort or whatever the case.
If I had one Swiss Army knife, I live in Georgia for 30 years. Okay, like if I have one Swiss Army knife, or I guess 40 years, god damn, it's getting a long time. I could make 100 spears a day in Georgia. Like the amount of wood that is available in Georgia is like endless. Like you could build palisade walls in front of palisade walls in front of palisade wall. Like the idea that you would be unable to actually stop a certain amount of zombie, like it's crazy. Like, and nobody made a single spear during the whole show.
Right? Yeah, that's actually quite funny.
My son really likes the show. That's why we got the game in the first place. He went in for the like premium edition on the game, and so, ooh man, I wish it was good. I do.
Yeah, because it's actually funny. I've been rewatching the Walking Dead TV show, and I freaking love it. So Negan just showed up. It's like episode 2, and I'm like, oh, I love it. But it did dip hard after a while. That's what
I just think about I'll be watching so many movies with my wife or TV shows. This is really bad, and police serials and detective shows and stuff, where I'm like, a D&D player would never have this like, I would never have done, like, as soon as I saw this problem, I would have come up with the absolute simplest solution possible that every D&D character would do, and this would never happen to me. It's wild how much you see that happen.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because we're getting a little off track with the Walking Dead stuff, but like there's like, when you go back like Ambition and Avarice, you have some of the stuff in there as well. Like, sorry, how to like clear areas out, and I think I said in my review, like, I think you were probably influenced by some of the stuff in ACKS.
Oh, ACKS 1,
yes. Yeah. Which I have actually never read ACKS 1. I have ACKS 2.
Right, it's very good.
Yeah. Where is it? They're up there.
Oh wow, they're way up there.
Yeah,
they're looking down upon you from above.
Yeah, the treasure tome was up there as well. So
I got that one also. Yeah. I'm not a fan of elves, so I didn't get the elf book.
You see, I'm a dwarf guy myself.
Yeah, I'm a dwarf.
I did get it, so then I know better ways to kill them.
Well, I'm running ACKS as one of my. I have a biweekly ACKS 2 game.
Yeah.
And one of the characters in there is from By This ACKS, the dwarf supplement.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a spore caster. And he's super creepy. And there's a part of me that's like, man, I never should have let a non-core book class in, but it's ACKS, so I was like, surely it's going to be good. Like, he is so... He's the kind of the player who finds the way to exploit every little thing, you know. So he's like maximized the benefits of being this forecaster guy.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I'm gonna have to kill him one day. It's
I'll give you a little side story. It'll take literally 30 seconds, so it won't take up too much time. So in their Bowers and Borderlands game, one of the referees was playing, was running the game, I should say, and they were in basically a portal dimension area, and we went through the dungeon, and we went to an area we probably shouldn't have come across at that early stage for our character levels. But we, shit happens, deal with it. And one of the characters is a bit of a bad boy. He lit some candles around a pentagram, and some rolls happened, and oh wow, basically Satan appeared. I was a clerical character. His whole purpose is to destroy demons and devils. And I basically baited Satan. I baited Satan into a challenge that he could not kill me in a single blow. And guess what? He didn't. He actually rolled really low and on the damage, and he didn't. And then I basically signed a contract with him. If he couldn't do it again, kill me in a single blow, that I would get any wish I wanted. And he rolled. He got the same number again. But the thing was, I had basically this magic tattoo on me, where if I got hit by a killing blow, I could deflect it. So no matter what, I was sorted. And what I did was I banished Satan from the dimension completely. Now, I could have said I banished Satan from the main world I come from, but I didn't do that because, it's going to mess with things too much, and it's badass enough to do it, and you get sort of accolades and you get titles and shit like that. So that's fair. You're not screwing over the DM in their game, and you're still achieving something that's badass. Don't be that dude. Be
Explora, he was here earlier. Explora 213. He's further up. He's further up in the chat. If you go up, there's this guy. They've been called. Somebody started calling him the Chubby Chaser, and I thought that was a great name for him. This guy, God. Star or something. He shows up in live streams where I am and accuses me of terrible things.
Oh yeah, the Star guy. Yeah.
So
Dude.
I just think it's funny. Like it's like a paparazzi. Like I'm like, okay, it's happy to see you. Good. Show up some more. Make more comments. I don't care. Yeah. So, but that's the guy. Like, how should we structure it? Should it be kind of randomized stuff? Like in the Barrows and Borderlands stuff was like random hex crawl stuff.
There's stuff. I won't say, but there's stuff coming out in the future for that. That's going to be mixed stuff that's coming out. But it's in the works, so I can't say that.
Yeah.
I know secrets. But like, I think I've talked to a few creators, and I think probably the best way to go for both them, like you guys, and customers is, you could do, like I said, a mix of stuff, have a bit more gazetteer stuff that has more information with some adventure stuff in it, or you could go, here's a book of just adventures, and here's some like more background stuff that's going to expand the world, maybe add new tables and charts in there, expand what you already have, and then have short adventures. So you have like your normal adventure, then you have maybe a bit more gazetteer stuff, and maybe short adventures, which, like 10, 20 pages long, which will keep people going.
They're easier also to port into other systems. Mm-hmm. So like the free adventure that's in my GM Quick Start, it can be run basically in any desert that you want. You could run it in Western Reaches that just drop. Like you could run it in the desert in Western Reaches. All the stats and powers for the monsters are perfectly fine relative to the regular classes in Shadowdark. You just wouldn't be using the classes from. I saw his comment earlier.
We got Erudite, Mike,
Mike,
Mike to Chad.
Mike led the entire party to their death except for the dwarf. He did. They found a tile that was covered in rainbow magic, like glow kind of thing, and he was like, "I'm stepping on it." So he goes through this teleport. It teleports him out. He comes out. He sees some enemies. He makes a encounter reaction check. He gets a 12. They don't murder him. Okay. Gary Lewis comes through the portal the next round. He didn't see the encounter, the reaction check happen. So he draws steel and attacks the monster that had just agreed to be Erudite's friend. so then my son came through there. He got killed. Gary got killed. Erudite got killed. And Lord Mattias turned and walked away with a 7,000 gold piece magic item, and he was the only one who cashed it in for full value. So he went up to level 3.
You see, Gary's always the problem. Gary's always the problem child and everything. We've been over this here.
Gary's credit. Gary could have come through the teleporter and metagamed that his character knew. Right? He could have metagamed that the reaction check happened. I shouldn't attack this guy, but all he did was all I see is a monster next to my friend. I'm stabbing the monster.
But to be fair, he's actually doing what you should do, roleplay. Yeah. He's like, oh, well, I know that my buddy, he's okay, so I'm obviously just going to stand there and be like, hello, random monster who looks like you want to eat me, but you don't. That's fair, but still, he's always a problem child. We've seen it. You've ever watched Second Watch? He's always a problem child. Sorry, yes, Gary.
Exactly. I got to see him and hang out with him a lot at North Texas. It was very good.
Nice. I'm not jealous.
Yeah. So, that's all that stuff. All these factors are things that I consider as I'm moving into the kind of post Kickstarter environment for ShadowSun. Should I make these shorter adventures that'll fit in other places or whatever? Should I make these regional books that'll work the way that Gods of Forbidden North works, right? Mm-hmm. Should I do zines? Should I do... Kelsey did zines for a while. They're being consolidated in Western Reaches in a sense, but or should it be for Moria, where he had an adventure anthology that had a whole bunch of them in one bigger book. So there's there's all these kind of considerations, and I don't know from a customer standpoint, from a producer standpoint, what is the best choice.
I understand this dilemma. I know a few people, and the problem is you can ask 10 different people. They're going to give you 20 different answers because they're going to have a combination of stuff. You should I think maybe after this you should release a gazetteer, but then have a short adventure to keep people going over for the next while. But then someone else might say, no, you should just release 5 or 6 adventures in one little book, but then have a big regional expansion book. So I think this is something maybe. I think
very tough decisions.
Maybe. And when the Kickstarter is halfway through or near the end or something like that, or even after, have a poll and be what would you guys like? Would you like regional expansions, several short adventures come out spread out over time to keep you going, anthology type book of different adventures? Some will be really short, some will be a bit longer, stuff like that. I think that probably be the best way to go, because I could say I think it's good to release say you have this, then release a bit of a regional gazetteer for an area you want to expand out more, get into a bit more detail, and then have a short adventure come out to keep people going with that before you bring out a bigger adventure. So there's always something coming down the line. Like I know, like obviously I know a good few creators, and some of them are doing like, okay, I just released this big adventure, and then I'm going to release this like really short adventure. You know, it's going to be short, it's going to be cheap, but it's going to keep people entertained, and it's going to keep you on their mind. That's the other thing. Retention.
That's another thing. Like
one
of the things that I've said this to Rob Alderman, who did Gods of the Red North. I think he should release like a set of small locations to kind of restock after a certain point in time. So like my guys have been playing for 3 years of game time. Like there would be changes to the land. You know, the Inaruk might move because they're kind of semi-nomadic in a lot of ways. They might have a new little village that they're setting up in a particular place. They might have, and then you could make it so the GM could just drop them in however they wanted.
Or like like a new dungeon gets uncovered from like the melting snow. The weight of the water then caves in the boulders and stuff like that.
There you go. That's
an ancient cave system. Yeah.
One of the things that I've had with Ninchaga. Ninchaga is the 4th dungeon in Gods of Forbidden North. It used to be a druidic temple of the native people, and then the Skull God came in and like desecrated it. And my guys are coming in and they cleared it, and they're, as written, the only way to permanently cleanse the corrupted pool in the middle of the temple is using this very complicated ritual magic from the Hadean Church. Now, this is the thing that I think about as a game designer. By making that the only way to do it, Rob set it up so that now my guys are basically like conquistadors in an Aztec temple, and they're like, well, we should cleanse this. Like we should get rid of all of the native stuff. We should turn this into a Hadean church, right? And they're far away from any of the Hadean people, so that's going to be like a religious war out in the taiga. I mean, like it would cause huge problems. So if Rob released some little supplement of like, if you start a religious war with these native people, this is all these different events that could kick off. Like there could be an attack over here. These religious leaders for the Inaruk people emerge as like new rebels, basically, you know, and they push back on the Vulcan, all sorts of stuff like that. I think
maybe they start coming in riding giant otters as well.
That's
traumatize your players again with the otters.
Well, God help those guys if they roll 24 on a 2d12. Holy shit, they might lose Eichenbar again. They get slaughtered by giant otters. So that's the kind of thing. Like, I think it would be good. This is why it's a world building thing, right? So Gods of Forbidden North, Volume 1 is the surface world. Volume 2 is the underworld. Volume 3 is the mega dungeon that goes down between the two. My guys are level 7. They've cleared maybe half of the surface world dungeons from a dungeon perspective. Like there's one more dungeon that's left, but like they've taken out a bunch of minor locations. They've cleaned up the world quite a bit in the kind of killing off monsters perspective. So it's not going to stay that way, right? The random encounter tables indicate that there's all kinds of monsters going around, but you can't write a book with such a high density of things that they never would have gotten to this point. So there's kind of like a timing issue. Like these things are rolling in over time. I think that is a great way of running it, but it's very hard to anticipate things like that. I've been running this campaign for a year, right? And we're not done with Volume 1. So even if we spent 1 year on Volume 1, 1 year on Volume 2, 1 year on Volume 3, like, how could he anticipate our needs in year 2 of running this campaign. Like it's very hard for a creator. Yeah.
Like the idea is great, but then like you said, what to put in and where and when to release it, because there's so much in there. This is a situation where he could easily release a bunch of cool stuff, and it could be just new locations or things pop up, like a new town gets developed, like you said, or maybe a development within that hex. Maybe like that area we're talking about, that where the temple. Maybe if your players don't even interact with it, maybe something happens there, like maybe some cultists come in, from Valkengard, and they start doing stuff, and maybe that's what triggers something there instead of your players.
You just tapped into a whole other thing. The Hadean Empire is collapsing. There would be waves of refugees coming from. There could be people with their own military units that are defecting. There's all kinds of things that could be arriving here that if Rob could write them out. And
there's so
that
much.
Also comes in. Should Rob be committing to writing this stuff for the rest of his life? How long does he have to support the product with more content?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is great opportunities for him to expand and develop things, like we said. Like maybe the players aren't the ones influencing. It's the factions in the world. It's the people from, like you said, all the refugees. Because like the Empire's, it's collapsing. It's been collapsing for the last 20 years, and it's only getting worse. We don't know what's happening in the rest of the continents, like at the other continents.
Yeah.
Like are they all developing the civil war? Are there new basic governments or royal families taking over and trying to take control?
Like you're talking about Valkengard having the soldiers weakened as a result of the zombies.
Basically, we had a zombie apocalypse.
that would make them vulnerable to if another military unit from the Empire came in and basically took over Valkengard and infused it with new strength.
Mm-hmm.
That would be hilarious.
What's basically happening in the town now is the crime lords have basically just taken over. Like, sure, you still have the troops going around. They have surface level overall control of the eye, but crime is seriously out of control. But what's really happening in the underbelly, nobody knows. We already know there's stuff underneath the town and the city. So what's actually happening now because of all these consequences? Like I said, if I was doing that with a group, they would have to play the whole thing out. It's just you're solo play. You can only do so much. I'd be there for 10 years on book one with those horrible developments.
Well, that's my guys. They took over Eichenbar, so they pissed off. They pissed off Yagashan, and they made. I don't know if this is a mistake or a lucky, but they made this huge exalted funeral of one of their characters that died. They had a huge party. They had all this stuff, and they ended up attracting Yagashan's attention. Mm-hmm. And he told them, "You have to go and enslave the Sun Cult people and bring them to me as compensation for you taking out my guys in Fort Eichenbar." Well, they don't want to become slavers. They're good cleric people. So they're oh, geez. And then I told them they have to hand off the slavers to Taffin Larry, which is my wild card. Taffin Larry, as written in the book, is just a regular ass halfling with no shit going on. And I turned him into this nefarious dude behind all the bad stuff going on. And so I was like, you have to enslave these people and bring them to Taffin Larry at this location. Yeah. So if they do that, they try to kill Taffin Larry, who knows how that'll go on. If they go after Yagashan, who knows? If they do nothing, Yagashan puts a bounty on them. These are very hard to anticipate issues for the person writing the book.
Yeah, this might be, again, is it like, for the creator, it is worth putting other stuff out there, but the problem is trying to decide what and when and how, because you can't anticipate, okay, your game and my game and Johnny down the road's game, they're all going to be heavily different, and depending on the type of players you have, how psychotic they are, and you know, all the nefarious things they make up to, or the goody two shoes, you know. And then it also depends on you as a referee. What are you adding to the game that you want to see? Maybe you want to add some extra factions in. Maybe there's a split in the factions of some of the cultists out there. Maybe they're having a disagreement about how things should really be done and the proper way to worship our Lord and Savior Balar. You know,
That's right.
Like these are all things that add and make games unique. If you're even a halfway basically competent DM, you'll be able to add in your own stuff, and you just have naturally emerging gameplay because your players are interacting in this massive world. But then, okay, they go to this town, maybe they interact with these people, they maybe do a small quest for them, they clear out a local temple. But how is that going to affect the local economy or raiders? Maybe raiders are going to be more likely to set up in that temple you just cleared out now that he couldn't get to. So, you know, there's endless things you can do with these big setting books.
Yeah. Just to answer Brother Anselm's question, if you listen to me talk in any live, I hate AI and I don't want to use it for anything. I made a couple of videos on my channel like saying I think it's ridiculous that it works the way that it does, and that like I made a video of like I took one image and I just put in prompts to change it into a different image. I was like, change the characters into opposite gender, and then it did that. Then I said, okay, change the writing on the rune stone, change the orientation of the mountains, change the woods behind them. And I was like, okay, so I've told the AI to make like 6 changes. Does that mean I've created something? Like,
yeah.
No, I stole the composition of the art from the person I started with. And yeah, there's Starblazer again. Somebody told me that they think that it's Condor DM as a sock puppet. I have no idea.
You know, it's actually your son because you pissed him off today.
No, I know it's not him.
I'm joking.
I've seen Starblazer make comments while my son was in my sight line, so I know it's not him.
You know, he's not being a little cheeky effort, yeah.
But yeah, I put in my books now that there's no AI or LLMs and any of this stuff. It's at the bottom of my Kickstarter page. It says there's no AI, no LLMs. Because I have Grok Pro, because I use it like for business, so I'm paying for not having ads and having better tools for analytics and stuff. I get a certain amount of just basically compute every day anyway. And so I've been I have a huge stockpile of public domain imagery that I've accumulated over the years, old paintings, old illustrations and stuff, whatever. And so I will just tell Grok to turn, like, I get like 10 of them free a day. I'll tell Grok to like turn these paintings into line art drawings. Yeah. And it's basically Photoshop work that's being automated. I can do stuff in Photoshop, but it just saves you time.
Yeah.
And I do it like that. And I was planning on at some point making like a book of just images that people could have like on drive-thru as a free PDF. I'd be like, if you need a picture of a mountain or a horse, where like here's all this stuff, you can just use it for free. I don't care. It's public domain. But that's the only. I don't think using it to create anything on your own is. First off, I don't think it's creating anything. It's basically stealing from. If I make a dish using your grandmother's recipe and you just don't know that it's your grandmother's recipe, then it seems to you like I'm creating something, but I'm just stealing her stuff. AI just steals each little individual element of the recipe from 10 different recipes to create a composite recipe. It's still not creating anything.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, like, and if you think it's a good tool for role-playing games, just go in and ask it to make 10 forest encounters, and it'll give you that. And then say, make another 10 forest encounters, make another 10 forest encounters. And it will very quickly just begin repeating itself. It'll be
or it'll devolve into something nonsensical.
Yeah, you run into a dryad, and then you run into a fairy, and then you run into a satyr, and then you run into a dryad talking to a fairy, and then a satyr talking to a dryad, and then, it can't make up anything. It just sucks. It sucks.
I have seen actually quite a lot of people, especially artists, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I use AI for my home game because I'm not going to spend 20 hours a week doing a couple tokens up because I have to make money actually doing commission work." And I've seen people who lose their minds saying, "You should do that work anyway." I was like, I mean, I'm creating a token or like an image for my home game of this, big booby got vampire. Like, I'm not, like if you're doing it for yourself and having fun with your friends, okay, cool. Selling it and being like, okay, maybe not. But there's people who will be okay with it. Most people won't be. But yeah, I don't really like it myself either. So
yeah. Musgrove is right. Like, if you just ask it, tell me all of the even numbers or something, it'll screw up basic stuff like that. I don't want to get into the whole stream, but yeah. So I don't use it for any of that. But the world building side of things, all that kind of stuff comes from people thinking of their own unique. What would it be like? Yeah. And one of the reasons why I did the ShadowSun thing in the beginning is because there's a certain combination of ideas that went into Dark Sun that Atmos do an awesome
dude. Yeah, what the fuck? Thank you, dude.
There's a certain amount of ideas that Wizards of the Coast was basically disavowing, and when the OGL crisis went down, that's what made the decision for me. Was, if they want to just break the license and steal from everybody, then we should just take the idea, the core ideas.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make jokes in the chat. I get you.
Yeah, I know.
And allow people to move forward with that. I don't copy any of the kind of content ideas from Dark Sun. It's just we have a world where there's no water, magic corrupts people, and then I added stuff like that. There's a sea of this black silk because I'm writing for Shadowdark, right? Incorporate ideas from that, and then put it together into a new thing and move forward. Because they're never gonna bring back Dark Sun, and even if they did, they would just destroy it because they hate the combination of ideas. They hate the combination of ideas.
They hate the idea of being dark, gritty, also messed up but kind of sexy in a weird way, and it was a product of its time because the people, they were like, we don't give a rat's ass about X, Y, and Z. We want to create something badass. That's dark. That's gonna make your eyes bleed, and it is what it is because of the people who made it. But those people aren't there anymore. They're being replaced by others.
And one of the things with
a lot of hair dye. That's all.
Wizards of the Coast saying that they're going to use AI to mine old modules for ideas and stuff.
Yep.
The problem is it can't distinguish between good ideas and bad ideas. So I can open up a Dark Sun adventure, and as a thinking person, I can go, these elements here are good, but this stuff is just like a remnant of bad mechanics from second edition or some shit. Like, I'm not going to use this part. But the AI goes through and sees it all as being equally valid. And it has no ability to distinguish.
It's basically just random chance given within a certain parameters you give it, but even still, it doesn't keep to those parameters anyway. Right. It might for the first little bit, and then it goes off the track because essentially it forgets what it did like 20 prompts ago. So then it's looking back on, so say if you have 40 prompts done, it's going to look back on the previous 20. And then that's going to influence the next 20, which, And that's how you get repeating of very simple, basic things over and over and over again. Like you said, you have your fairy and a dryad, and then the next one is like a dryad and a centaur, and the next time they're all talking to each other.
One of the things that I discovered in the Curse of Strahd series, this was really damaging for my brain, was that I could see there was, after reading it for a certain amount of time, I could see the pattern of what they were sending to their freelancers, right? They were basically telling their freelancers a general idea of a place, and they were like, we want a bad monster there, we want a creepy thing nearby, we want a treasure thing nearby, we want an NPC from another location nearby, even if it didn't make sense for them to be there. Like we want all stuff. And so then once I realized that, it was like, okay, every place you go, it follows that same pattern, because that's what they were telling their freelancers to write.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think I really bring as an individual person is that all of the work that I release in a particular book, at least between books, my memory can screw me over, but within one unit, it's all it's unified, connected, and based on one thing. So you don't have that kind of problem. I'm not that. I would joke that, like in Curse of Strahd, there are were-ravens who haven't heard from each other in over a week, and they never flew the 3 miles to find out what happened to the other were-raven. Like, what? And the reason is because the person who wrote one group of were-ravens was not the person who wrote the other group of were-ravens, and that's why they don't know what's going on with the other were-ravens.
So, and it's not only that, it's also that they did not have any direct contact with each other to then, we actually need to put this in, this makes sense.
Exactly.
And even if they did, it's then Wizards being like, nah, we don't care.
Yeah, and the person who's editing it, you would think would be in charge of that. But I bet the person doing that probably wasn't thinking that their role is to connect these things into a coherence. So the setting comes across as a bunch of places that are unrelated to each other. Whereas, like in Gods of the Forbidden North, every place is intricately linked to the other places. You go into the Barrow of Eight, it's talking about the Tarngrak. You go into the Ninchaga Temple, that it's the Skull God coming in with Tarngrak and killing them. It's all connected. It makes sense, and you can't get that when it's too many freelancers and being a project run by 1 or 2 people, or a team of administrators or some crap who don't care about the product. They care about the aesthetics and making the money off of it.
They care about, they care about them keeping the job as long as it's just barely serviceable to people who probably haven't a clue about the history of what was this original thing like. Because I think when you look at, like, say, I'm not gonna shit on 5e people. If you like the game, that's great. That's fine. Same with any game. If you like it, cool, awesome. Not my cup of tea, but who cares, But maybe if you're playing 5e, you probably don't like or never played first or second edition. You probably don't like some other OSR games. One thing I've noticed, 5e players, they only play 5e. Like for myself, I would go insane only playing one thing ever. Like, I like pizza. I don't want pizza 7 days a week.
I started with 2nd edition. I moved on to 3rd edition, played a lot of 3rd edition. And then I moved away from that, from the D&D chassis. I didn't play any 4th or 5th. And I don't if you still play Pathfinder or 3rd edition D&D, like, that's totally fine. We're just playing different games. Your game is about assembling all of these feats and powers in order to get mathematical benefits. And my focus is on the tangible interaction with the world.
Your players, how they influence everything. Sticking to that old school mentality. But again, for example, with Shadowdark, You have some things that might be streamlined from like AD&D can be a pain in the ass, to be honest. You know, there's certain things in there you're like, especially if you haven't played it before, you read some passages and you're like, I can interpret this passage in like 3 different ways. I'm sorry. And like you might play it one way and I'll play it another way.
I always bring up, like, when you look at second edition, if you go to a second edition wiki and just look it up, the description of charm person, it's like it's written by a lawyer. Like, it is like, charm person will work on this type of monster, but not that type of monster, including this list, and it lists all of them. I always remember, like, brownie is at the end of the list. It's like, it will work on brownies, but it will not work on ogres, and it will not work on this. Like, because they had so many people asking, does charm person work on this? Does charm person work on that? So they wrote this. It's like a half a page description of this freaking spell, because so many people were abusing the way that it was written in AD&D. So yeah, games evolve. People make
is like a legal disclaimer and copyright power thing you have in a book.
It's brutal. It's brutal. I never touched second edition spells are written like that.
I never touched second edition, so LMCs have no taste. They're just, let me read it here actually. Users just have to hope that the majority of what is sampled is tasteful and do not exercise their own discriminatory faculties. Sampling AI slop increases, so will garbage out. Pretty much.
I have a video dropping next week. If you want to watch it early, join my Patreon as a free member. It's up there because it's like I have a post about planning my future after ShadowSun, since we're getting close to the Kickstarter. Nice. And in the video it talks about making all of these kind of choices about what to include and do things in your game, and planning all this stuff ahead. And a part of that is, as I was talking about dungeons in the video, and I said, like, you can use random dungeon generation tools that are on the web. There's one from a guy named Whatabout. It's itch.io page is out there. I have it. I'm just looking at it right now. It's on my bookmark bar. Like, it's right. I use it a lot. But if you use those kind of tools to make your dungeons and you go, okay, I'm saving money by doing this, you're not going to have a dungeon that looks visually distinct from other people's dungeons. So the same thing with AI. The more people use this stuff, the more generic their stuff will appear.
Yeah. That is something. That is something I have come across, especially last year. A lot of books have the same look of the dungeon. Like, you see it on the page, and there's nothing wrong with necessarily how they're done, but then some of these programs, they don't have angles to put in. They can't put certain shapes in place. I don't know if you've ever seen like David Hargrave's dungeon stuff. It was back from like the 70s, but they're absolutely insane, and I love it. I think it's great. It's great for if you're doing mapping, like you have a guy mapping. Oh, it's great chaos. And if you're down in a dungeon and you're like, okay, you come to the intersection to your east, you know. It goes yeah. It's like you don't get stuff like that anymore, which is, you know,
well, that has no charm. And the thing that you described there is, I'm not calling him out for being negative, but the Dyson logos effect. So like Dyson had a huge impact on the drawing of dungeons. He produced a huge body of material. There's a lot of people who draw dungeons that aren't Dyson who were influenced by, so their work looks like his. Even if you're drawing it, it's not being procedurally generated or anything, but it's being drawn to look like Dyson stuff. And so I think you have to, if you're a producer and you really want to have a distinctive look, like I would not, I have nothing against Dyson. I would never commission him to make a piece for my for my game, because it would just look like a piece for anybody else's game. If I'm going to pay someone to draw a dungeon, I want it to look really different from that style. And that's just that's good business, first off, I think. But the more that this propagates, because what people don't realize about like AI tools is there's going to be people who load the AI with like 50 Dyson maps and then have it draw based on that. And it's going to be AI, not Dyson, but it's going to look like Dyson.
Yeah.
And so you have to find things that nobody can train the AI on stealing and then replicate it like that.
Yeah, it's like I think best way to think about it, I think, is like comic books. So when you open a comic book, say you open up your Batman, you know, whatever comic run it's on, but then you open up a Batman by Johnny B, right? It's the same character, same world, but the styles are vastly different, and you can tell. Like maybe the first person who's drawn it, it goes for big, bulky, chunky, you know, boulder-like shoulders, you know, like Dark Knight Returns type style. Or then maybe you have a more slimmed down, like fast, sharp, like direct, like punching, like with spears into your body type style.
The cartoon, I think of like the animated series cartoon, he was very slender and sleek, and he would move with fluidity in a way that you don't see in like
it's a similar thing like the dungeon stuff. Like again, like having that stuff out there is great. It's great, especially when you're like, you've no money and you're like, I'm just trying to get something out there. I found like maybe I had the bought the license or whatever. I have a bunch of dungeon stuff that like maybe the license or some of the people who've sort of copied or like disciples or whatever you want to call it. That can be great, but then you do want to have your own sort of style, because if you say your world is not necessarily going to want that style anyway, because it's just the vibe. It's a different vibe, you know.
And there's, I think a lot of this is just me, but because I've looked at Gods of Forbidden North so much, when I look at Carlos Castillo's art, which is in a lot of it is in Gods of Forbidden North, it's good art. But if I commissioned him to make something for ShadowSun, it would feel like it was in the wrong world to me. Like in my brain, I would be like, this doesn't belong here, because that goes in Gods of Forbidden North. So I think people do have those aesthetic judgments that they make automatically. You know, there's certain things that I can add to a page that will make it feel more Middle Eastern to you, even if you can't describe exactly why it feels Middle Eastern to you, because there's just motifs and kind of aesthetic effects that your brain is automatically processing in a certain way, regardless
shapes,
of whether you want it,
how things go together, even like patterns on rugs or example like that, or on walls. Like you might have sort of like flower motifs, but they're not necessarily going to be super bright, and they're not going to look like a French art painter.
That's
style,
right.
You know,
well, like one of the, because the things that are in the Quran, they didn't draw people, so a lot of Arabic art and stuff is geometric patterns. So if you make a lot of geometric patterns in the way that you present something, even if there's nothing you can specifically say like this is a Persian pattern, this is a Cordoban pattern from the Middle Ages, like, but it will feel that way to you, but you just won't know why, because that's what your brain has already processed.
That's true. Same like you look at Norse stuff, you know that straight away. You know, Vikings like from 500 AD or whatever, like 800 AD.
I love Vikings so much I can't even describe it, but except for anything I do for Shadowrim, which is Viking, but it's supposed to kind of feel like Skyrim, not Vikings in general. I just feel like the market is tapped. There's too many things that are already out there that are like this. Making yourself distinguished is very, very difficult. I'd much rather try to do something outside of that. I also say this about Celtic stuff. I love Celtic stuff. Um, my mother, when I was growing up, she loved Irish music, Celtic music, New Age Celtic music. I listened to so much Celtic stuff. I love the what is it? Last of the Mohicans soundtrack, which has this like very Celtic vibe to it. Like I love stuff, but I can't write anything Celtic anymore because there's just it's such a crowded space, like
Yeah, and
I'd rather forge new ground, just go in a different
that's
direction.
completely fair, because like there's some things which are just too much of already, and there's other things like that. To be honest, a lot of the Celtic stuff out there is people's interpretation based off very little knowledge. That's the problem, and yeah,
well,
it hurts my soul a little bit.
I've hidden it in things. For instance, the Celts have a particular way of doing their fortresses in the forest, and I've put that in with the way that like hobgoblins work in Ambition and Avarice. There's a name for it that's just escaping me at the moment, but it's like a huge. I'm gonna look it up. I got it right here. An oppidum. This was probably is the Roman word for what they did, but is basically they built in a particular place in the forest so that there's really only a couple ways into this place, and everything else is covered in briars and thick briar. There's no way you can get in. So even though it's not technically a fort, right? But it's built in a way that you cannot attack it without a very complicated plan for getting in there. There's a similar way that I think it's the Maasai people in Africa build their towns with brambles and stuff, so that it's very hard for great cats like lions leopards to get in there and attack people at night. So there's all kinds of things you can learn from other cultures like that and put it in your game if you modify it. But there's just certain things that are just really, really tapped out. I love Rome more than probably any other culture on earth, but I'm not going to write a Roman setting anymore. I play ACKS 2, and I'll play Gods of Forbidden North, where there's basically Byzantines essentially. But I'm just not going to write it because it's just tapped out.
Yeah, and the problem is there's so many other cultures you can draw influence from, but the problem is the people who are sort of like creators on the creator side of things, they don't know much about it. It's hard to write something without fully or without understanding a large amount of it. As to like, we're starting to now see a little more like Eastern Japanese stuff again. Like Nebula, for example. I don't know if you've read through.
I know what it is. Yeah,
it's amazing. I think it's the best Eastern style book out there. It's an OSR, so we'll work on any system essentially. You could get to work with Shadowdark relatively easily. Just stats need to be changed, whatever. It's
Well, there was a period of time
back in the 90s,
probably from 2010 to 2024, roughly 2025, where if you made something like that, you would be brutally attacked by a certain group of people that we all know. And we're getting out of that now, thank God. But for that period, I remember back in the days of Google Plus, so this is like 2012. There was this guy who I knew, and this guy spent tons and tons of time learning about Aboriginal Australian people. And he wrote some game, I think it was just called Walkabout. It was a game based on like their history and culture. Like you were adventuring in Australia before Western people arrived. It was it's all this stuff. And he was pilloried for doing it as a non-Aboriginal person. And it was like, do you not want people to know about Aboriginal culture? Like,
yeah.
Like, this is the best way to teach people Aboriginal. Like, do you know how many people have learned about the Middle Ages from video games? Holy shit. You know, like from role-playing games, tons of stuff. Like, you want people making things in cultures that are different so that people learn more about those cultures.
Yeah.
You know, I don't make a lot. I've been making a ton of stuff in a Middle Eastern theme for eventually a game I want to release called Kharazim, which is like an Arabian type perspective. Al-Qadim is Arabian Nights. This is more of like the entire Islamic world during that time frame. And so I'm reading tons of stuff about Persia, tons of stuff about Cordoba, tons of stuff about Coptic Egypt, or not, like Numidian or Ethiopians. There's all this different stuff where Coptic Christianity expanded, all kinds of stuff from that period, all this kind of thing. And I do that because I'm very interested in those things. I'm not like preying on that culture. I like it. I want to learn more. And so there's just this. I'm glad that these people are being pushed aside finally. And we'll get some good stuff. We can get some great stuff in the vein of Far East, Japanese, Korean,
Middle East,
Chinese,
even like
Southeast Asian,
Eurasian.
The steppe is
American.
Yeah, massively underrepresented from the steppe. There's a part of Central Asia that I just fell in love with from playing Crusader Kings, ironically, of all games. But
based
it's around the Oxus River and the Sir Daria, and it was like a huge center of civilization before the Mongols came in and killed almost everyone. So it was like cities of 200,000 people that were annihilated, huge amounts of stuff. And so like learning about that and like reading about like tons of stuff like that, and the fact that people are angry that you want to do that, it just boggles my mind. Like I constantly want to learn more about other. It helps you with your world building. It helps you with coming up with ideas for things.
Yeah, help you just influence even like the feel, because this is the thing about a lot of games. If you're running things, you're trying to get across the feel of and vibe of the world and how things operate. Like if you're refereeing my game I'm a player in, I'm not going to be seeing a lot of stuff that you're seeing, which you're then drawing upon. You know. So once that's in there, then you can translate that to me as a player, describe what this big giant dome building looks like, you know, with the different sort of coving and stuff on the outside and the pretty colors and, you know, all that stuff. You know, and how the sunlight reflects off it, because you have a reference point that's being put out there, or maybe you personally know more about it. So like the more research that you can have or put into things, the better it's going to be able to translate and make the world more believable you're in. It's like what a lot of your ACKS 2 stuff. You the way you did it was brilliant. Like you sort of combined cultures quite a bit, and you gave like blurs about how they work, like their governments, their societal structure, religion, and stuff like that. And it gives you in relatively short blurbs, like paragraphs here and there, very important
detail. The book he's talking about is Warlords of Gavardia, by the way.
So you can just look upon, like, read that as a referee. You're like, okay, yeah, I understand what he's going with here. And it helps as well if you know just a little bit about different cultures around the world. Like, you know a little bit Romans, you know a little bit about some South American countries, you know a little bit about some European and Asian countries. That helps to translate things across, and you understand what it is, and like, okay, I understand this word is for this type of dress they're wearing, and I can describe it better. You know, that is another way you can do it as well. This is the thing with like RPGs and settings. There's about 200 million ways you can deliver the stuff you're trying to do, be it an adventure, the feel, the setting, the cultures. But the problem is the problem is trying to figure out how to do it, because there's so many ways you can do it, and even within that, you could order different things within the book that you've already settled on, and it would make sense and work. But then sometimes you're like, well, if that bit was over here, it might make a bit more sense. But then there's stuff relating to something else further down. Like, where do you put that? It's you're trying to make things accessible as possible, easy for people to understand and process and look up on the fly, and not overly complicate things with like when we're doing with fancy stuff, we obviously there's made up words. But there's a point of where you have too many made up words describing things. You need to start not have that happen as well.
Yeah,
so
you have to be limited.
So hard.
I was just thinking. So I've been making some videos lately about like how you reimagine Curse of Strahd to be actually good, right? So unlike Dark Sun, which is mostly good, and I'm trying to kind of preserve those ideas before Wizards of the Coast throws them all in the trash. The ideas in Curse of Strahd are just mangled in their implementation, right? So in the very first I6 Ravenloft module, they were just called gypsies. Then in Curse of Strahd, these people are called the Vistani, as if we don't know that they're gypsies, right? I like gypsies. They're very interesting people, lots of interesting culture, okay? But if you wanted to gamify that, you can't just come up with like the things that they did where they have this list of like weird beliefs and stuff, all these things. I would focus on physical, actual things, right? So if I take a character, if we're at the theater backstage, and I take your character and I put a red vest on you, many people will instantly perceive you as some kind of gypsy wandering character, because that's the only time they see people wearing a red vest, unless they're unless they're taking your ticket at a movie theater. Like, that's it. Like, so if you have a very nice embroidered red vest, right? So because that's how people, like, they've seen movies, they've seen cultural presentations of gypsies, they have this idea that the gypsies wear a vest, right? So lean into that. Come up with some kind of, not the exact same vest that it's in real life that gypsies wear, but draw upon like similar but different places, like all kinds of stuff in the Balkans, but then places like Armenia, Georgia, the mountains around the southern edge of the Caspian Sea, there's some name for them. It's blanking on it right now. They're very different from Armenia and Georgia, which are like right next to each other in the Caucasus, right? These places have so like draw on little things from that, and then make some kind of vest-like thing, gamify it into it, providing them some kind of benefits in the game. And if you take it away from them when they're a prisoner or something, it's like you're able to take that advantage that they have down, and they're kind of like ashamed of you having defeated them. Like if you take the knight's sword, or you take the wizard's staff, or whatever, right? Like it's because there's like that evil eye ability that they gave the Vistani in Curse of Strahd. You could make it tied to like confidence of them having this kind of vest, whatever. The GM doesn't then have to memorize all these cultural things about the Vistani. They can just say, he's wearing this vest, it's giving him this thing, and then role play it from there. But people have such a hard time taking abstract ideas and turning them into physical things within the game. They want it to all remain abstract, and I think that's just a terrible way to go.
I think probably something that's really good that might help people is like look at Game of Thrones. You cut the ponytail off the writers.
Yeah, that's a great example.
That's them showing that they've been defeated. They're the worst of the worst fighters.
That's right.
Yeah, they're dog shit. They could be the best fighter in their tribe, and they just lost that day. But to everyone else, you're nothing. You're nobody. Your hair is like mine. You know. So and then like if you look at again, I'm going to bring up Vikings. It just came to mind there. People have this idea that they were filthy and dirty, but in reality, they were very proud of how they looked.
Right.
They'd wear perfume. They'd have jewelry in their beards and hair. They're very, very, very clean. And again, this is another thing I think comes from media, is they depicted, like, especially a lot of European towns and cities as dirty by having literal dirt roads instead of having everything stoned and paved, because that's what it was like in reality. And they would keep things clean. Well, when they talk about it being dirty, it was they didn't have a sewer system. That's the thing. But then you could see the opposite of Rome. Rome was everything was clean, it was tight, everything looked fancy, and the grandeur of even the most simplest building was like insane. It's just like wonders to behold. But
I've read descriptions of what like an Ozgul Turk would wear for going on campaign and stuff, like all kinds, like they would have they have like a undershirt, I can't remember the name of it, and then they have a caftan on top of that, and then they have belts, and they have all this stuff, and like just getting ready in the morning is like a knight putting on all of their accoutrement, and then they get up on their horse, and then they're gone for like months before they come back home. Like this, so this is like a ritual to them of like getting ready to leave their home and everything. And we don't model anything like that in role-playing games.
Yeah, and then when you have, like you said there, but then you go to a different region of the same country, which is popular with the same people, completely different attitudes and how they do things. Especially like that goes back to essentially tribing. So my tribe versus your tribe. My tribe has short hair, yours has long hair.
That's right.
That's the most basic way of looking at it.
I just remembered the name of that place at the southern edge of the Caspian Sea is Daylam, Daylam. Yeah. So it's the thing is, the mountains there are so high that they're really separated from Persians to the south of them. So they have this like unique culture of being on that seaward side of these mountains. Those are the kind of things that I love, just reading about cultures like that, where they're in some little niche place. The Basques is probably the most well-known kind of people like that live in like this little narrow mountainous place. But there's tons of great stuff like that. Most people, when they think of like Curse of Strahd or the Balkans, and they think of like Transylvania and Serbia, and that's it. Like that's it. That's the whole place.
No,
but there is so
we all talking like this now.
Yeah, it's wild how much people don't know, or they think that they know about.
Yeah, like again, I'm actually glad you brought up like Persia, because if you look at there's actually a great example for maps. So if you look at like modern day Iran, which is Persia, they're surrounded by mountains. There's a reason why no empire could ever beat them. You have to travel over mountains with wagons and trailers, and you have everything. You can't do it with tanks today. The tanks will
not just mountains, desert mountains.
Yes, and then within there's hiding holes, and then you have underground passages and all that stuff. There's a reason why. On top of them being badass fighters who are exceptionally tough and very devoted. They've been around forever. There's a reason. But in terms of like the map for that, you could literally grab that, put it into a game setting and world, or have a region like that, and it would automatically make sense to the players because they can understand. Oh, they're basically in a fortress, a natural fortress.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's another thing
in that Kharazim idea that I was talking about. Is actually a part of the world that I call the Dwarf Barrens. Because it's a place like that where the surface level is desert mountains, super hard to get in and out of and through. And there's dwarfs living underneath, and they're just waiting for you to be dumb enough to go across, and then they'll just slaughter your caravan and take your stuff. So it's a very dangerous region with, like in Dark Sun, you have cannibal halflings. So it's like taking dwarves and just making them just malicious raiders that will just take your whatever you're going through the area, and that kind of thing, having that's a really distinctive place that the players will understand and know, okay, if I go in that place, I'm taking my life in my own hands, and you don't have to describe it that much in the book. Just have NPCs that just tell people up there's dwarves in those mountains that'll steal your stuff.
And that it's gonna go with like what you said about having like a player facing stuff. You're like, oh, we want to go to this region. They're like, okay, this is what you know about it. Actually, we're gonna go over here instead, because otherwise you're flipping through, and you're like,
I
okay,
totally
okay,
surprised my players in Gods of Forbidden North. There's a town on the map that is you have to kind of stumble onto it. It's a halfling town called Snowhearth, and they got there, and I decided this. It's interesting. Like you'll prep, you'll do stuff, and then within a 15-second time frame, you decide to totally change the way that this thing works. I decided that they were going to be canonically Irish accented halflings who despised halflings from the South. So they're like little halflings, and I used the Irish accent for them. And and they were like, my players were just like crying, laughing as these guys come back, because they had all of these. They talked like IRA guys about English people. They were just brutal. Like they were like, we hate those guys in the South. We don't want them.
We're going to go over there now. We're going to blast a hole in way. Hey.
They were just horrific, and they were thinking these were going to be like friendly hobbits that are helpful, living in their hidey hole. And nope, these are just like brutal, militarized Irish halflings, and they helped them. They made a deal with them, and they like cooperated with them. But like, you got to throw things in there that people just don't expect come out of nowhere.
Like, it's like you said, like as you're a referee or whatever, like you need to be able to come up with things on the fly, change things as they need to be, based upon what maybe you don't like something, or you think it doesn't really fit for what I want for the vibe of my game we're playing. Even if it's in this world as it is, doesn't matter. Add some stuff in there. That makes things unique as well. So, which is always fun. You want to change things up.
I just make notes on my phone all the time. I think of something, I put it might go in a game. It might just stay in that note folder for like years. But at least it's written down rather than I forgot about it. Yeah.
Dude, there we go. Oh my God. I didn't realize there were so many chats. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh my God. I agree with Explora. I didn't try to create like a fake Brahm motif with ShadowSun. You can see the cover art on the Kickstarter page. It's the guy who did it. His name is escaping me at the moment, but he did the art for the One Ring first edition. So it has a very warm, but kind of a classical painted look rather than Brahms look. Because I didn't want it to be like, I'm stealing his thunder in that respect. And I put a lot of thought into making the commissioned art and everything have its own distinctive feel. I like Brahms' art. A lot of it feels to me like just too 80s in the way that it's like people are walking around in bikinis when they would be getting sunburn, and they're wearing leather goods like they're in a S&M video. I do that kind of stuff. Although there are a few pieces that get close to that because some of my artists really were like, I want to make it look a little bit like that. There's a dwarf riding a bug. He probably looks the most S&M of all of my guys in the book, but I do think it's important to have your own distinctive style, not just copy from something else, and
or at least try to have different cultures or stuff look and show different to what's already out there. Especially like if it's good. See, this is the thing. It's good to have something which can be plugged into anything, So it's kind of generic, but maybe within that like generic sort of like setting or venture, or have things that stand out a little bit more. Like maybe the culture over here is a little bit different. But obviously you're doing an entire setting and an adventure world thing going on here. So you're trying to be like, okay, I want this to look nothing like anything that's out there at the moment. I want it to be very distinct. If you look at, you're like, oh, I know this is straight away.
And in that video that I was talking about earlier, that's it's on my Patreon page right now, is for early access for free members. It talks about how, like, if you want to start commissioning stuff, you should pick a handful of artists, not 20 artists. Have 3 or 4 artists at most, doing a very distinctive style so that you can stand out. And that if you do that in advance and you plan it out and you commission it, then it will cost you less money to do that, because the artist will give you a discounted price because you're giving them guaranteed work for a certain period of time. And it will cost you a lot less, and you can do it that way. But you have to, the great enemy of the tabletop role-playing game writer is planning and doing things ahead of time, because people are so impulsive and they're like, well, this book is done. I want to launch it right now. I don't want to wait for more art to come in over the next 3 months. So I'm going to order 20 pieces of art that I need from 20 different artists, so it will take 1 cycle to come back. Well,
it's not take 2 weeks instead of 3 months.
It's not going to look the same. It's not going to have a coherent style.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I get it. I'm super impulsive in this respect. I want to do that. But you have to have, part of the reason why I made that video was to force myself to seriously evaluate what it would take to do that project, not just keep talking about it. Tora made a comment that just popped up. I know we're far up in the but Macrease did, he didn't, the thing that he didn't plan for, just for people that don't know, is that a lot of his pages that he thought he didn't need art for, because the chart went down maybe 3/4 to 7/8 of the page, still left some part of the art at the bottom underneath the table. And that it ended up happening. I heard him talk about this on one of the live shows. He was like, there were just so many places where I'm like, crap, I didn't plan for needing this much strip horizontal art at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And since he had already, committed money and time to all these artists to do it's color art, so you can't just get some stock art that is, mountains across the bottom in black and white and just put that there. Like, you have to have color art that goes across the bottom. That was a real problem for him.
Yeah, and the ACKS books have so much art in them as it is. Like I think it might be one of the more heavy art style books as well. Not art style, maybe like in terms of art on most pages have some sort of art on it. Like it could be like a small little vignette portrait or something like that on top of, like you said, stuff on the bottom. And
I think that's good. I think that's good. There's a tension between doing things in a way that's good for you as the producer versus doing things in a way that's good for the customer at the end. There was a book that I got gifted it at some point. I don't know. It was Von Richten's something for 2nd edition. It was a Ravenloft supplement of some kind. I know I was gifted it because I don't have the Ravenloft stuff to go with it. I at the time didn't even really like Ravenloft, but as you flip through the book, you notice that there's like certain pieces of art that are in the book like 5 or 6 times. So like you'll see this cup that's being held by some ominous looking dude, and then 20 pages later, you'll see the same cup. And then 20 pages later, you'll see the same cup. And like, what the hell is happening? And at first, I thought it was me, but then I'm like, wait a minute. No, that art is there. And there were like 5 or 6 pieces of art that they just repeated through the book to save them money.
Yeah.
But the end user notices things like that.
Yeah, that can be like things like, oh, we absolutely just forgot, or we didn't think we're going to need that much. They end up being bigger than we originally planned. That's the problem. That's the problem with all you freaking creative types, especially you psychopaths who do like
think about like if you're commissioning art for Gods of the Forbidden North, right? How are you going to predict before you've written this chapter on the dungeon? There's certain page elements that you don't know how big they are, right? So there'll be, let's say there's a room number and a description and a name, then there's a line, then there's the description. Well, you don't know how long the description of that room is going to be versus the next room. I like this comment a lot.
Yeah, I was reading that.
Yeah,
that's so, I'm always smiling, but you know.
Yeah. So if you don't know how long that room description is going to be, you don't know how much space there's going to be underneath that room description for a piece of art or whatever. Yeah. So if you're ordering the art before you know that, then the layout artist has to squeeze things in a way that goes up and down and things don't line up. That's why I write my stuff in layout and then order the art after it's written. And that's a slower way of doing it, but yeah,
it's funny because like I've talked to Rob a bunch of times. I've had him on the channel a couple of times, and you know we talk every now and then, you know, general chat. And he's like, "Oh yeah, when I first started doing this, I was thinking it's going to be one book, and like I got a bunch of art ordered, which I know of certain things is absolutely going to be there." And then I kept writing, and then I kept writing, and then I kept writing.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. You creative types, you're absolute psychopaths. And one thing I've noticed, almost all you guys, who are really really good. You work on several things at once. Now you might focus most of your attention on one thing at the specific time, but then you break things up with like a refresh or something else pops in your mind or whatever. And yeah, that's ends up causing you like, okay, yeah, oh, that's cool. I have an idea for something else. Oh, I gotta go back to this other thing, and then all of a sudden, I was originally going to do 50 pages in this book, but now it's 100. Now, this thing I didn't think of 10 minutes ago, it's now going to be 20 pages, which is going to end up being 80 because psychopathy.
Yeah. Well, like, a lot of things I'm forced to write against my will. So this Curse of Strahd thing is a great example. So I made 10 videos analyzing Curse of Strahd. And one of my criticisms is that so many people declared it to be some awesome module, having never read it. Or they didn't even know what it was in. So I actually went through the whole module and broke down like why I think these things don't work together. There's a bunch of it's like a box of Legos that's full of random Legos, and the instructions don't match the Legos. Like that doesn't help you do anything. So I wrote all these criticisms of it. So then I go to North Texas. I go to North Texas this year. And I had like 7 or 8 people come up and start talking to me about how they ran Curse of Strahd and how they appreciated this or that criticism and how they wish it had been this way and this is what they did when they were running it and blah, blah, blah. And so then I'm like, now I'm involuntarily having all of these new thoughts about how to fix Curse of Strahd, how to make it better and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I get back home and I'm like, you know, I had all these discussions with people about how the map doesn't even make sense, right? And this is a big world building tip for everyone out there. If you have 2 mountains next to a lake, the lake is not going to drain uphill through the mountains. Pro tip, okay? So I was like, this map doesn't make sense. There's no, if this was here, the water would flow to the west. It would not flow south over the mountains. That's not how water works.
Oh, but no. Have you ever considered fact? Shut up.
So I got back home and I was like, well, if I assume certain basic things, where would the water go? How would it? And I just made a hex map of what it would look like differently, right? And I was like, okay, that'll die the demons down a little bit in my head. No, that just gave me more ideas. Like, this is what would go in this swamp that we just created. This would go over here on the other side of the lake now, and this would. So then I just started having more thoughts. It's something you're forced to endure. Almost like I'm trying to write one thing at a time, but the horrors persist. You know, they just keep happening. They just keep having these ideas. I can't stop that.
And the biggest horrors are not even the monsters.
That's right. The worst thing is when you have to like come up with, you've got 20 ideas to go on a table and you need it to be a D100 table.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh shit. Now you got to sit down and really think of what would be that. Those are the to write down the stuff that's just pouring out of your head without any prompting. That's easy. Mm-hmm. What's hard is sitting down and writing the parts that you don't want to do, that aren't flowing out of your head, but that you need. They have to be in the book. You know, I can't write a setting book and be like, I'm not including monsters. You know, like it has to be in, like, there's certain things that have to be in there, and if your natural, things emerging from your head don't fill that stuff, you have to sit down and work. That's the work part of it.
Yeah, and it might be like for one person, the thing that you're struggling with might be their easiest and best part.
That's right.
And then this also influences how what do you start off with? Do you start off with your dungeon? Do you start off with your dungeon and figure out from there, or do you have an idea how you want the world to be from the get-go? And then you're like, okay, yeah, now I want my dungeon to be like this because like the terrain they're on. Maybe we're, like you said, we're in a desert. So how would the dungeon in a desert behave to, a dungeon in a world that's in an area that's full of swamps? How is that going to work? So.
And that goes to what we've been saying earlier of like I think that the guy who I've never talked to Gavin Norman, he wrote Dolmenwood. But I bet that he just had all of these ideas about a fairy forest.
Yep.
And so he was like, I don't have it all defined, so I'm going to release it as these zines, however you say it. And then eventually he did put together all the pieces. Whereas Rob Alderman, I think, came up with, and I think this is the real reason why the metaphysics kind of Skull God chapter is before everything else, is because that is the first thing that Rob got. I bet it is. I don't know.
I talked to him about this, and I think he started off with the idea. I think it was the dimension worm. I think the Tesseract. Yeah. It was the Tesseract.
The Tesseract,
and then he worked
worm, the Skull God. Yeah, and then everything was built around that. Yeah. So like
what? Then it's like, why did Bel Air come here? Oh, I need to find this out now. So,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. There was some letter that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote to like a 10-year-old girl she had written him a letter asking him a question, and he said something like, "I don't know. I'll have to ask the elves what the answer is." Right, and it indicates like that, like. Things were like being revealed to him through his creativity. Like he didn't know how it worked until she asked.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way he even responded indicated that it was involuntary to him. Coming from, well, what would the elves say about this?
Yeah, it's like it's like when you create a character, and when people do all this backstories. I don't like that. I can't do that.
I never do that.
Yeah. So I'll create my character and I'll be like, okay, what weapon are you using? I'm playing it and see what happens. And then, I develop a personality for the character and how they might behave. You're unlocking things as you play. But like you said, with him, he was unlocking and finding things out by having questions asked which he never thought of. But he thought of so much.
And this was after writing the book. This was like Lord of the Rings was out. All three, like this was like way after the fact, and he was still like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's never an ending point until you just say, I just need to do something else, or that's it. You have to figure it out.
Recently on another live stream, I can't remember where it was. It might have, it might have been with Yang and Zhao. I don't know. But I said, like, there was this documentary that came out right after Michael Jackson died. And there was a guy who worked on the stage crew that was building the set for his the last performance that he was able to do before he died. And they were in like a rehearsal stage of some things, and Michael Jackson started doing some weird things, and his manager came out and was like, what are you doing? Like, that's not any of your stuff. And he goes, I'm just trying to work out a new sound. You know, like, so here's this dude who's been through all the Jackson 5, all the 80s stuff, all the stuff in the 90s, all this changed his music, and he's like, I'm trying to work out something new. Like, that to me is, as a creative person, that is like the apex. That even at the end, he didn't know it was the end, right? But like all the way through, he was still trying to think, like, how can I make this work in a different way?
Yeah, always pushing forward, trying to develop and have this thing. Maybe how can I change it? Maybe I can twist it up a little bit, or maybe I heard something somewhere. Maybe I can play with that, and you know. It kind of reminds me a little bit of in Back to the Future. Your kids are gonna love it, you know. Yeah. They don't see what's coming down the line, and you know, yeah. That's right. But Travis here, it's kind of like running a hex crawl. What the hell's what's in that hex? Well, let me go check.
I made a Patreon post a while back about that. There's basically 3 types of creation. One is pure creation, like totally unaffected by anything else. You just have this spontaneous idea in your head for a thing. And then there's a interpretive level of creation, which is that like hex crawl. Like I made a few dice rolls. I got a little bit of information, and I'm going to interpret what it means in order to do stuff. And that interpretive creation is a huge part of being a GM, right? A massive part of role-playing game as a whole. Actual moments of pure, unmodified creation is very rare. And then the third way is correction, that you see something and you're like, this is not working right. It would work like this. And you can't have that idea if there's nothing broken, right? So I think a lot of the things that I think about, like Curse of Strahd, is I see that it's broken and my brain goes, it would work better like this. It's not that I want to write a vampire thing like Ravenloft. It's just looking at their broken thing makes me go, oh, it would work like this actually better.
It physically hurts your soul. And you're like, just do this one thing.
Just do it.
And then there's another one thing, and then another one thing, and another one thing.
It won't be broken if you do that. Yeah. So that's kind of I think those 3 methods really drive role-playing games forward. And there's a lot of people who looked at kind of bad GMing, and they created story games. I've said before, like every time a GM is horrible, a story game gets their wings, because all story games are designed to take the power away from the GM that is, done something horrible in that author's past game life. So they lived through a game where the GM was, every time they were like, I look in here and does it have this? No. I look in here, is it that? No. So they make a mechanic. I roll, and if I get a high enough roll, it's in the thing. Like, I don't have to worry about the GM telling me that it's there or not. That all the story game mechanics are built around that kind of pain. So I think that there's a huge amount of the hobby that's built in that way through those 3 forces. And that's why, there's people who've come up with 100 different types of elves and different types of dwarves and different types of half, because people see things that exist and they will riff on it to create new things. And then occasionally you do get like a totally new thing. But even then, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit on Rob Alderman. If you just go to the Wikipedia page for Inuit native religion, you will see a lot of things that look a lot like the Tarngrak, right? So he definitely was inspired by those things.
Oh yeah,
That's good. That's great. That's
yeah.
how
Like even
people.
like the main religion of the Haitian Empire, like it is literally Christianity. It's like an
Orthodox Christianity, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which no, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's great. You're drawing upon something that's real, which I think that probably makes it easier for like us to. Oh, I understand where he's coming from now. It's I can like I maybe I can just read over that real quick. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, I get this. I get what you're going for. I get the vibe. And half of a game is vibe. Once you have a bit of detail and got the right vibe in, everyone's going to be playing out.
I've actually been thinking about. I've been thinking about breaking from Rob's decision. So that we had an issue where the cleric in our party, he's the highest level character in our game group, and he wanted to know if the church had a prohibition on slavery. And I was like, well, they're based on Romans, so I'm thinking no. Romans didn't have a anti-slavery angle, and then Rob was in the Discord group where we're having this conversation, and so we tagged him and we were like, what do you think? And he was like, oh yeah, they would be against that kind of thing. And then over time, the more I'm like, maybe not, maybe they're like righteous fury Orthodox something, like let's make it like that. And I was like, no, they're fine with it. They're fine with it doing that, and that'll be the way that they are in my game. And other people will run it a different way.
Yep.
But how do you determine what's the true correct behavior of an imaginary religion in a book that anybody can run however they want?
I think this is like one of the best things about the hobby is like we said earlier and what you said there. I can play in your game, and we can go back and play in my game in the same setting, but you might do things completely different to how I do it, and we're both doing it completely different to how it's intended to be played.
That's right.
Which is a great thing, because then maybe I'm playing your game or we're doing something, whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I can take off that. But maybe one of your players done something which inspired you to be like, oh, that's a really good idea. They said something passing.
Have you played Fallout 4?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Yeah, okay. There's a guy in the marketplace in Diamond City that everybody who plays Fallout 4 walks by this guy, and they know. And he's trying to sell you a swatter. A swatter. He wants you to buy a swatter. It's a baseball bat with nails put in it. And this dude, he's never seen anyone actually play baseball. So he's gathered up these artifacts of baseball, and he's determined that what happens is you're trying to run from base to base with people trying to hit you with the bats. And that's how you play baseball. And they're like, you're trying to survive your way through baseball rather than how we think of baseball. So can you imagine, like, you're the inventor of baseball and you find out that in 400 years they're playing baseball by people running and getting swatted? Oh, did we lose? We lost Kieran again.
That was me. I'm sorry. That was me.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's happened a lot more lately. I think we have building and construction stuff going on around the area, literally across the road. So every now and then stuff like that happens. It happens more in the evenings as well. It's weird. Sorry.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's okay to have somebody totally misinterpret what you thought. Like you wanted it to work a particular way. I've suggested that the best way to actually use the Radiant Citadel module is to make it a place you're invading with your real characters. So rather than you have an adventure where you're going around some stupid festival and not doing anything exciting, instead you're the guys who arrive to find these weak people running a festival, and you're like, I'm going to take over this whole place because these people are here. Just turn this into Acts 2. I'm gonna run this as my domain now because these people they can't defend themselves. They have no combat ability. So you can use the module for whatever you want.
Yeah, and you can just even from that you can just take aspects of it and then put it into your game. You don't need to take entire books or you can just take sections of things and modify them, make them fit your setting, your world, or even if you have an adventure you like and it maybe doesn't match with the setting, plug it in and just get the vibe going, get the feels right, change a few things here and there, and guess what? It's going to work. Just put a little more effort in, especially with something that you really like and you think, oh, that it could work if I do X, Y, and Z.
Well, I could use like Tomb of Morkal from Gods of Forbidden North in ShadowSun, just by changing it up so that there's a cliff. It's still a cliff. It's very hard to get down the cliff. Maybe there's dust sinks underneath the cliff, so it's like water. But if you fall, you're gonna drown in this stuff. And then instead of a little stream running through the place, it's like quicksand that's like leaking, it's pouring through. It's hot and it's hard to. So it feels totally different, but it uses a lot of that stuff that Rob wrote, and it would be, not even in the right setting. Just take the map and drop it into a different setting and say, this is how it works here.
Yeah, and you just change a few things, but you got the vibe right. Like, so much of a game is vibe. I keep saying this over and over to people. Like I had Matt on last week, and vibe is literally half of everything in a world. You could have the most well-constructed, in theory, like everything should work perfectly, but if everything is just, it's like if you take a system from one game and another system from another, they both work really well, and you combine them together. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to work good together. But if you put a little extra work, maybe those things will work better, and you're getting the vibe in. I think I said that wrong. I'm sorry. It's 1:30 in the morning here.
There's an argument in the OSR that one of the advantages of these old school systems is that they're not a unified mechanic. So if you have a D20 mechanic for resolving attribute checks, but you have your thief skills are on percentiles or D6, like in a lot of, like there's a Lamentation of the Flame Princess, and there's some OSC alternate rules to use a D6 for your thief skills, and then you run magic on a totally different system and you do this. Then by doing that, you can plug and punch things and move them around. But if everything in the whole game system has to work on the same D20 resolution, then you really can't do that easily. So I think there is an advantage to having modularity within the systems.
Yeah, it definitely. I think it adds to the potential of the stuff you can use. You can borrow. You can just drop in, like you said, change. You go from an icy wasteland to a desert setting, like you just said. When you can do that, you have your creatures and stuff in there. Like it's when people look at like Shadowdark, and then they look at, say, some random OSR game or monster book, they'll look at the creatures, for example, and they'll think, oh, they're completely different than how everything works, because Shadowdark, it will have +2 for intelligence and +1 on strength. Well, what that is literally like a 14 and then like a 16. That's essentially what it is. You just look at a chart in the Shadowdark. It's not crazy. Just at first glance, you're like, oh, it's completely different, but it's not. Shadowdark is great. It's lots of fun. It's one of my favorite systems. It's essentially BX with some rules changes, and everything just works really well. And it's great, and I hope it keeps growing the way it is. Like, I know in the cons in the US, it's growing more and more as like people playing. Which
North Texas is an old school con, specifically in its design, and AD&D was the largest number of games there, 37 or 39, I think it was, and then Shadowdark was either 36 or 30, like one instance underneath it, right? So there's definitely a huge amount of people that appreciate it. I personally, I like so many games, it's hard to ever say this is like my favorite game.
I know what you mean. I don't want to play one game. I want to play 4 or 5 games. I want to test out the game that's coming out next week and see if I like it.
That's right. But I do think that what Shadowdark represents is a combination of things that the majority of people like the most. So like there's a reason why people really love Mexican food. It's because beef and cheese and lettuce and tomato and flour and corn put together in a bunch of different ways is that's what people really like. It doesn't matter whether it's a tamale or a taco or a burrito or nachos or whatever. Like that, it satisfies the largest number of people.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other cuisines that may be appreciated by a large number of people, but just not as many people, right?
Yeah.
Not as many people are going to like sauerkraut as like tacos. That's just reality, right? So like I can go and have a meal where I eat sauerkraut, but I know that tacos will be the most favored meal that I should offer to my people I don't know at some random party, right? Like if you throw your launch party and you serve sauerkraut to everybody, it probably will not go as well as if you choose hot dogs or tacos or barbecue or whatever like that. Like you want to pick a food that will satisfy the largest number of people. So I think to me that's the strongest argument for Shadowdark, is especially in like a convention setting or a pickup game or a new group of people. It's very effective at satisfying everybody's needs. And I really love games like ACKS 2. I love games like Alien. Those are very specific tastes that aren't as widely shared. That's true. I'm not really a huge fan of advantage and disadvantage. I'm a very analytically minded person, and I would rather have a +3 or a +5 rather than rolling with advantage.
Yeah.
But I get that there's people who appreciate it. Right? Yeah, chocolate. A lot of people like chocolate. I don't know if you know. Yeah. So if you have a choice between trying to serve chocolate or licorice, you should probably go with chocolate. It's just yeah.
What's this chocolate you speak of? I have not been just beamed down from my spaceship. What is chocolate?
Yes.
But so no, that's true for sure.
The way it is.
Yeah. Like I said, with advantage and disadvantage stuff, it's I'm sort of like it's okay. I would rather, like you said, I would rather you are in you're in a position over the enemy. You're coming down from above them, you have a reach weapon. You maybe have some extra abilities on you, or whatever. Or, you're gonna have an extra +1, +2, whatever the case might be.
Exactly. Yeah.
I rather that myself. I'm not gonna bitch and moan and be like, oh no, I get to roll 2d20 or whatever, and then take the.
It's not like a horrible thing. I forget to do luck token things all the time because it just doesn't. It doesn't. If you make the roll and you fail, then in my mind, like that, it was decided. It is decidedly so. The Magic 8 Ball has told you. Okay, but there's times where we're playing in OSC, playing Gods of the North, and a horrible result will come down. And one of my guys, David Persabilla, he'll be like, man, a luck token would really help out right now. Because he plays a lot on Shadowdark, and he's like, oh man, I really wish I had a luck token. Yeah, but you don't. You die. You get hit by the fireball or whatever happens. It is what it is.
That's the thing, because each game has their own strength or has their own unique thing they can add. There is a lot of games where it's basically just copycats and they don't add much to it. But there are games which are like they're copying other systems that came out of the past, but they're adding to it. They're doing something different, and that makes feels different. And again, it goes back to the vibe as well. It's going to bring back the vibe. Like when you look at Shadowdark, when it launched, there was no setting. There was no.
That's right. It's all based on the art, really.
Yeah, it was all based on the art, and
there we go.
So the art was based on the vibe and the feel. So, mix that in with like, okay, the torch mechanic. Okay, I get it. Everything's dark, everything's dangerous, you're blind, you have all these weird, creepy monsters and stuff coming out. Like on the cover art, it's just you're like, oh fuck, yeah, I know what's going on here. Yeah, this is not gonna be we're not having little torches and like having a little dance party in the field with luscious greenness. It's
Well,
you're going to hell.
here's a great example. Okay, so in Gods of Forbidden North Volume 2, there are connecting adventures that help you transition from the content of Volume 1 into going down into the underworld. All three of there's three little adventures. The purpose of each one, I say little adventures, I think they're like 20, 25 pages each. But
yeah, the first one's like on like page 11 or something like that.
Yeah, so like you're trying to get the party to get kind of committed to going down into the underworld. And there's a room where there's a waterfall, and then you have to kind of go across this pool and go up the steps on the other side into a place.
Mm-hmm.
And my guys have their seventh level characters. They have continual light spells. They have one of them has a shield with continual light cast on it, so just constantly light.
Yeah.
If it was Shadowdark, they would be like, oh my god, this waterfall could put out my torch. Like, we need to be cautious about going through this pool just from the consideration of light.
Yeah.
Which is really a good effect.
Yeah.
Even at 7th level, they would still care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like when you have a game, like if it has a unique system or a couple of unique small, they don't have to be big, crazy things. It changes how you or I as a player is going to do things. How you or I as a referee are going to add creatures and monsters, and maybe what traps are going to be there based upon some of those rules, or systems in there. And everything influences everything. The player influences the GM. The GM will then influence what happens in the world, and it all comes in a big loop, and it just keeps feeding and feeding. Which which is how you create. This is how great things get created.
One of the things that I kind of feel incumbent upon doing this, but I have the player companion, the GM companion for Shadowdark. So we got Western Reaches is coming out now. So I'm working on ideas for what I could put together for Western Reaches. Now she's got a ton of new classes in there, so I don't want to try to outcompete her on classes. There's tons of classes in Western Reaches. She put in a system that's pretty good for race. It's got a nice choice of ancestries. It's not really as much of an opportunity there. So I'm looking for a lot of ways to make equipment much more important in the way that the game mechanics worked. In the player companion, I have baskets and things that you can use to kind of consolidate. If you're willing to have one hand be occupied, you can carry a couple extra gear slots in a basket, for instance. Stuff like that. But one of the things I want to make the focus of this is managing your equipment on these long overland journeys and going into dungeons and stuff. Because if you've got 3 torches and you hike 5 hexes into the wilderness with just 3 torches, like that's going to be really hard for you when if you start losing your torches. So I try to think of ways that I could help them free up gear slots, ways that I could help people. Like, so you come to town and you can consolidate. It's like even in the Shadowdark books, right? There's tons of treasure that you can find, necklaces and gemstones and stuff. But what if we write the stuff in the player facing book so that like you go to town and you're like, I'm going to put all my very heavy gold pieces and stuff into a necklace that I can then wear that won't take up a gear slot.
Yeah.
Right. So coming up with things like that to interact with the systems, I would never even need to do those things for OSE.
Yeah.
Because it's a different mechanical aspect. So the mechanical aspects of the game have a huge impact on how things work, regardless of the setting.
And then again, how the players interact with it, and then how you're going to implement that as well. It's again, It's the circle of life, as Travis said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll bring this up just because we've mentioned it a ton of times, and I think we should probably like go over it because there is actually quite a bit on here that people can go on and read. You know, it's basically like the pre-launch page, but it almost looks like a launch page.
Yeah. Well, last year when I did Shadow City, I
Yeah.
was my first time doing a Kickstarter, and I spent tons of time building out the page. And then it was like, do you want to turn on your preview page? And I was like, sure. And I thought it would just give you the preview of the things that I'd already built. But in Kickstarter, it's actually two different pages. So I had to like really quickly, like I launched it live with Dungeons and Dyslexia. And I had to like go through and really quickly like copy over the whole thing that I'd made into this preview page. So I put a lot of thought into the preview page this time around.
You're like, I got ahead of these mofos.
I am not going to screw up again. Yes.
But like when you talked about earlier, you can get the quick guide here, and it's like what? It's like 100. I think it's like 110, 120 pages.
130 pages. Yeah.
130. Jesus, like there's a lot in there, so you guys can go check it out, get a preview. It's got an idea what's going to be going on in this, and then you get a description of everything here, like how to create first level character, different starting gear. 24 arcane spells, nature spells, psionics, all this stuff here.
And this is a Matt Jackson map for the sample adventure. And there is a little bit of that Dyson effect that we were talking about earlier, but this has a very unique vibe. You know, nobody would be like, oh, this is just a stock art dungeon.
Yeah, it's literally like a giant corpse.
Yeah, it's a golem, basically, a huge golem that fell over. And that heart, you can see the heart is labeled with the 15, yet the heart is a magical crystal that's like beating, and it's mutating all of the giant ants that have dug the interior of this golem out. So these giant ants came in and dug out the golem just as a living space, but the heart is still radiating energy and psionics and magic and stuff, and it's warped the ants all over the place.
Dude, that's cool. Yeah, I remember when this launched, I was like, "Oh, Chubby, yes, click." I always click your stuff. If I ever see anything come out on DriveThru, I'm like, "Yep, I'll look at it," and then I'm like, "Okay, download or a physical copy if it's there."
Thank you. Well, like you can see, like that's a zoomed in version.
Yeah.
And this is the huge version here.
Actually, I might change this. I'm still getting used to restream, so give me a minute, guys. Haha, we're still in the bottom now. That's better.
There we go. That's a good position for us.
Yeah. But yeah, this is like that's freaking huge, dude.
It is.
How many hexes is that again? That's like
5,760, I believe.
Oh my god! How many months of travel?
Well, each one of those hexes is a 20-mile hex. Also.
Oh wow, you're going with the big boys. Okay.
So there's actually the.
Okay.
Let me take over the share for a second.
Yeah, I'll let you do because I'm a dumbass.
If you go to I have to actually open it in Photoshop to show this kind of stuff.
Okay,
wait.
Give me one
these
second.
are. Oh, okay, so I'm not sharing it.
Oh, dude, I'm clicking the wrong ones.
So if you zoom in, I haven't finished labeling them. These are mostly labels from the original one. But if I zoom in further, you can actually see. Let me go to 100. You can see this 6-mile hexes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it goes onto onto actual print, you'll be able to see it's a very, very high DPI file.
Yeah. What DPI is that? Is that like 8,000 or something?
I think it's 1,200.
Oh yeah, I can't remember. I'd say yes. It's 300 is like standard. 600 is like considered like high quality.
Yeah, 1,200 is like really good photography.
Yeah. Dude, I'll throw this back up. Oh, yeah, I'm still getting used to restream. I'm not good with technology. Yeah. But dude, like that is a huge map. 20-mile hexes. So you're sticking with the big boy hexes because we like big boy hexes.
Well, one thing is like if you think about Gods of the Forbidden North, like that's actually a pretty compact space.
There's a lot in there as well.
It's a very compact space.
Yeah, like you're gonna go across 3 to 4 hexes in a day, depending on like your carrying weight and stuff. You know.
Yeah. To answer Rick's question in the chat, it will be written for Shadowdark, but I'm going to be doing the Kickstarter is for getting like the really nice Smithsonian flat binding. After it goes through that, it'll go to drive through with most of my other stuff as print on demand for long term, because I don't want to be in the business of storing books, right?
Yeah.
So once this is through, I am going to make an OSE conversion that will be compatible with those kind of stat blocks. But I'm not, sounds weird, I'm not popular in the OSE space, so I don't want to like hinge the Kickstarter on that success. So it'll be on all, and if it's very successful in the OSE space, then that's great. That'll encourage me for the future. But this is the plan for right now.
Yeah, you can do one thing at a time and see how things go, and maybe you can expand, because you're one guy. You have a day job. You do this stuff. You do all the writing. Then you have like, I'm going to spend time with my family. You know, you're essentially doing 2 full-time jobs. Yeah, like 2 full-time jobs plus family and life stuff. Yeah, and yeah. As anyone knows who's obviously watching this, like you are one of the best Shadowdark creators, and one of the better like general like RPG creators out there. Like people should go back and check out some of your older stuff. That's great. Like I think people should also check out Ambition and Avarice too. It's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
But yeah, you do player guide here.
Yeah, the player guide. I actually have. It's over here. I have a like a proof copy. I don't have the GM proof copy yet, but this is about how big it will be. Nope.
There we go.
Yep. So
nice.
I ordered one just to get a sense of the kind of, you want to make sure the cover is working right and all this stuff, even though you haven't finished all the pages. So I've got some pages where it's still blank. You know, like I've got the layout stuff in place, but I ordered this ahead of time just because I was concerned about certain elements. You never know until you actually. Yeah,
it's usually either for some reason the blacking or the covers are slightly ajarred.
Yeah.
Like for some reason the blacking isn't fully black. It's like, what? Okay, let me make sure I got this. There we go. See, I'm not a complete Luddite, guys.
Yeah, so those are the new 8 ancestries. I mean, they're not new; they're in the original Shadowdark.
Dude, I love how it's called a mule, and it's just a human dwarf mix.
Yeah, but I guess Mule and Goliath are not in the original ShadowSun. But you know, these are the kind of things I can afford to do now. Commission really great artwork for it. There's more classes than there is in the original one. There's a bunch of new things all over throughout the chassis, equipment. There's a whole new system for smoking, so it's like smoking a hookah. You know, so you can get all sorts of different substances that when you smoke, it gives you a effect for a long period of time, like a super potion.
You know, you're gonna have a what's his name? Kazuga High guy. What's his name? Playing in the background as people say, the rapper guy,
to answer Tora's question in the chat, it will be Shadowdark sized books. There'll be 2 of them, each of them about 250 to 300 pages.
A bunch of boats, mounts, haste and exhaustion rules, more downtime stuff for recovery your strength and so on, retainers and specialists. That's something that I find it. There's a few books out there that have sort of like retainers and stuff like that out there. I think Western Reaches and the player book has something to do with retainers as well. Yeah, that Shadowdark is very lightweight, and some of the stuff out there for it's kind of iffy with that. But I'd say you'll have something really worked out quite well. Reputation, property, and land holdings. Okay, with the political
Yeah.
systems. Okay.
So
Oh,
you can get a holding. It's
nice.
basically a way of giving the players a stake in a particular place. So like if they make a political bargain, they
Yeah,
can begin to have an interest in that place. Yeah.
a caravan traveling system for safety in numbers, and then totems to pass XP onto your next character by honoring their ancestors. I wonder where you got one or two of those things from.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that the totems is like an adaptation of the
Yeah,
reserve XP idea
yeah.
that
That's
you
that's
could,
a very good idea
but
to use.
it's combined with the carousing. So basically, you pick your investment amount like you're doing carousing in
Mhm.
Shadowdark. You get a modifier, you make some rolls, and you determine how good your totem is to your ancestor, and then that will give you your next character will get some bonuses. But you have to then protect the totem. You can't erect like a totem pole in a town and then just walk off and hope that it all works out. So like it invests you in the location.
Yes, Afro Man. That was it. I couldn't remember. Yeah, Afro Man. Who? Cause I got high. Do, do, do. Sorry. Uh, 20 city states. So you're not having like 5 or 6 20 city states. It's 20. Okay, dude. Because so the city states are going to be basically large bodies of land being controlled by a central power,
Yeah, yeah,
where the highest density population is.
that's
So
right.
okay, cool. That's awesome. A bunch of new hazards and points of interest. That's like when you have like your GM companion stuff. Uh, that that book is literally the most essential book for any GM running Shadow Dark, in my opinion. I use that with other stuff as well, just because you combine it with whatever you might have at hand, and it's just adding more and more variety, and then you can like rift off it, plus rift off it depending on like the setting you're sort of playing with. Getting the vibe in there. Super
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Settlement creation.
it has
And
all that stuff that you like in the GM companion is like adapted here to
yeah.
this world. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome, dude. I'm so happy because you're saying all this stuff as well. Oh yeah, we got the bug, people.
Yeah.
Go
And then
folk.
I
Yeah.
also innovated here in this section on the monsters. You can see I've added sections to the way the Shadowdark stat block works. So like you have a behavior block before the stats that tells the GM more about because like Shadowdark monsters, the GM is assumed to already know what
Yeah.
hobgoblin is or
Hmm.
whatever. But if you don't know what these things are, you can't roleplay them effectively. And I used a lot of humanoids. So I added those sections with like guidance on what the humanoid is like. And then I created subtypes of the
Yeah.
humanoid. So like a regular goat folk uses that level 2 stat block of higher, but an explorer goat folk has an extra level and extra hit points and a
Hmm.
better dex mod. And a trader has a better charisma mod and better reaction checks. And a warlord has better armor and psionic power. So that there's all these. So even within one type, you can add different
Yeah.
subtypes that make
You have
it.
two or three different versions of that type, plus any modifications the GM might make. Okay, I'm going to add 2 extra hit dice to this creature because he's going to be the boss or whatever. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. And again, you're taking some ideas from other games and you're adjusting them and changing them to fit into this, which is great. I love doing that, because everything is meant to be played with everything else. So you
yeah,
might as well put it together and like just create something unique and different, dude.
yeah.
And
And
there's
then
some more
there's
stuff you can check out because I know
the
on your
playlist.
YouTube you created like a playlist for all the stuff relating to this, which is awesome.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and then
and
that's
all your
all.
awesome works
Yeah.
down below.
Well, you have to like make a case that you're not some rando person with no reputation when you're doing these Kickstarters.
That is true.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've seen Kickstarters and they give so little information. It's like, oh, this is an adventure. It's going to be like level 3 to 5, and you're going to be going against this thing, you know, big monster, big bad, blah, blah, blah. And it's literally just a paragraph long. And then they're surprised that no one backs it.
Yeah. There was a guy on here who had, when I found it, it gave me a little bit of a heart attack. He like a kind of coming soon thing, and it sounded very similar to ShadowSun. And then I went and I saw that it had been coming soon for like the past 4 years or something, and it had just been sitting there with like a paragraph of description and one piece of art, and it had just been sitting there for like 4 years with no movement forward. So
I can't believe this went on for nearly 3 hours, dude.
I know. Yeah,
we kind of went a little off topic that we kind of decided to go on with.
I told my wife I wasn't going to eat first because I was like, I'm just going to have a snack and I'll come back. And now I'm like, man, I need to get in there and get some food.
It's also 2 a.m, bro. But yeah, I think this is great. Thanks again for like reaching out when we were doing this thing. This was lots of fun. Again, it went way longer than I think either of us thought. But guys, remember, check out all Chubby stuff. All the links are down in the description below. Get reminder for the Kickstarter for whenever it launches. And yeah, that was awesome. I'll see you in the next one, guys. And thank you.